It was he who had a crush on me. By caramelized winter melon copy, Lu Ran, the high cold scholar in the eyes of others, silently fell into the pit of Zhang Nuan and never got up in his life. Years later, Zhang Nuan touched her chin and suddenly realized that her entire youth was the history of being chased by the sultry scholar. Zhang Nuan, you're right, can you chase me even more crazy and cool? Lu Ran, isn't it crazy cool to bring you a scumbag to a key university? You were so cute before, eyes are bright, every moment I watch is like a confession. You are still cute now, but in my eyes there are thousands of worlds besides me. Look at me occasionally, makes me crazy to confess to you. Lu Ran, a sultry student of the high school affiliated to Normal University, has fallen for it. Campus fencing essay, mainly pursued by the gods, content tags, flower season, rainy season, happy friends, childhood sweetheart competition search keywords, protagonist, Zhang Nuan, Lu Ran supporting role, others, brief review of the work. Zhang Nuan lost his memory for nearly a year because he fell into a pond in winter with a high fever. After waking up, Lu Ran, the top student she had always kept away from, approached her to make up for her class. Because Zhang Nuan, who was always compared with Lu Ran's excellence, was full of resistance to Lu Ran. In the friction and getting along again and again, Zhang Nuan gradually approached Lu Ran's lonely inner world, and found that it turned out that Lu Ran had a crush on her from a long time ago. With Lu Ran's company and help, Zhang Nuan entered the fencing arena, and the two achieved brilliant results together in the fencing arena they love. The character setting is distinct and distinctive, and the details in the story, such as exam rankings, conflicts between students and teachers, and communication between parents and children, are very immersive and resonant. Through the male and female protagonists, the author expresses the expectation that young people of this age long for the understanding, tolerance, and trust of their parents, schools and society. At the same time, the hero and heroine's simple and persistent pursuit of fencing shows an inspirational youth theme. Wedge is convinced by her in the empty fencing hall, under the bright lights, there were no spectators, no applause, no comment or guidance from any coach, and two figures in fencing suits stood at both ends of the kendo. At first, Lu Ran just thought the girl in front of him was ridiculously overconfident, but after the fierce confrontation of more than a dozen swords, his heart was on the verge of breaking through the madness and burning heat every time, so that everything in his sight was only the girl opposite. This is the last sword. Lu Ran's cold voice echoed in the fencing hall. Only he knew that his blood was rushing and frantic. He could not wait to hit her, he wanted to make her submit, because of some secret and never before came to his mind he wanted to break her, and she will always be remembered. The two rushed towards each other almost at the same time, and Lu Ran raised the sword in his hand. He knew that his strength, speed and flexibility were all advantages, and everything she had was just a dying struggle. But in the gap between these thoughts, she turned sideways to avoid his fatal blow, followed by an endless counterattack. He didn't know how she approached him, only that the sword penetrated him. His awareness and confidence hit his chest. Everything he had built so high collapsed, and it was not the flood that flooded the sky, but the world that suddenly became vast. She maintains the stance of lunging and stabbing, seemingly small, but at that moment she became the power to subvert him. When they were lying on the ground together, the girl closed her eyes and smirked. Lu Ran, you can't give up fencing to study telecommunications engineering. No, I mean, you can study telecommunications engineering, but don't give up fencing. Why? He asked. He didn't tell her that at this moment, when he heard the sound of her breathing and the sound of her giggling, his nerves would tighten. I'm not as good as you in my studies, and I'm not as good looking as you, and I'm not as good as you in everything, but only fencing can do it. When I suddenly won the champion of the women's saber or some elite competition or league, I can tell my dad. You see, my achievements in fencing are no worse than Lu Ran. Maybe you're not as good as me in everything, but I'm going crazy for you. Okay. You said yes. You said tell me to continue, and I'll continue. Because only here can I have the chance to keep you looking at me. Zhang Nuan sat beside the hospital bed, dangling his legs, biting an apple, and the sound of clack-clack echoed softly in the quiet ward. Yo! Xiao Nuan! You look so good! It's not like the legends outside. A 16 or 17-year-old girl, wearing a horn-buttoned coat with blue school uniform trousers and a pom-pom hat, stood at the door of the ward with a plastic bag in her hand. Daodu! Zhang Nuan's eyes lit up and stretched out his arms. Cheng Daodu also squinted and smiled, and trotted in to hug Zhang Nuan. Who knew that Zhang Nuan took the plastic bag in her hand and began to look through it. Pick up the snacks inside. You have no conscience. The little ant took you all the way, without a single thank you. The boat of our friendship overturned. Chen Daodu jumped to the side of the hospital bed and sat side by side with Zhang Nuan. Our friendship boat is not made of toilet paper, don't worry. In the plastic bag were a large bag of longuixian, shrimp sticks, Lay's potato chips, and dried bean curd. Zhang Nuan's eyes were straightened, and his cheeks were sore. In the past few days, he had eaten so little in the hospital, and his mind was full. Remembering junk food, he immediately opened a pack of longuixian and put it in his mouth. Ouch! My darling, take it easy. You're reincarnated from starvation like this. Let's not talk about this for now. Tell me first, what are the rumors about me outside? Zhang Nuan said vaguely, unscrewed a bottle of Coke by the way, and his chest immediately opened up and refreshed. Longuixian and Coke are the king of life. It is said that you fell into the ice hole in the pond in the winter, and when you were rescued, you had a high fever of more than 40 degrees for several days. Your brain was burned out. Your mouth is full of nonsense. You don't even talk nonsense after that. Don't you know that Ken and I have come to see you once, and the doctor won't let you in? We just squeezed our heads on the glass over the door and looked at you, thinking you're okay, it's like sleeping. Chen Daodu he leaned into Zhang Nuan's ear and whispered, the light outside the window shines on your face, what do you think it looks like? Zhang Nuan always felt that what Chen Daodu said would not be good words. Like what? For that picture, Zhang Nuan lacked imagination. Back to the light. My lord. Zhang Nuan almost didn't spray longuixians on Cheng Daodu's face. It's still Buddha's light. At this time, a sweet young girl's voice came from the corridor outside the ward, hello, auntie. Ouch. Can. Come and see Zion Yuan. That was Zhang Nuan's other little sister, Rao Can. Zhang Nuan immediately understood that Rao Can's loud anti-hello was to remind her that the Empress Dowager was coming, hurry up to hide what should not be eaten and should not be drunk. Cheng Daodu jumped down, put away the plastic bag, and pushed it under the hospital bed. Zhang Nuan opened the drawer, found a wet tissue, and quickly wiped his fingers clean. Mouth. Zhang Nuan still has longuixian on the corner of your mouth. Cheng Daodu grabbed the wet tissue from Zhang Nuan's hand, wiped it hard, and stuffed it into his pocket. At this moment, Rao Qin walked in with a smile, holding Zhang Nuan's mother Luo Chen's arm. Rao Qin is tall among the girls in class 2 and 3 of their high school. She has a good body. She never wears makeup, but she looks good in any clothes. She can wear the dirty school uniforms into the style of high-end sports brands. Son. The corners of Rao Can's eyes are slightly upward, and every time she looks sideways at people, she has a different taste. There are many boys in the class who like her. Zhang Nuan and Chen Daodu nicknamed her Fairy. These two words, Zhang Nuan and Daodu, did not have any derogatory meanings. Every time they extended the ending and called Fairy, most of them were acting like a spoiled child. Oh, Daodu is here too. This way, the three of you are complete. You whisper your secrets, and I won't be your light bulb. Zhang Nuan's mother Luo Chen smiled and walked to the door. Just when Zhang Nuan and Cheng Daodu were about to exhale, Luo Chen stopped and said, Longuixian, potato chips should be eaten less. You have pneumonia. Dowdle was stunned and asked in a low voice, "We are perfect. How did Auntie know that you just ate Longwaxian?" Rao Kin gave them a white look. As soon as I came in, the air was full of the smell of Longwaxian. After finishing speaking, Queen Rao Kin raised her chin in a fanatical manner. Dowdle lay down, pulled out the snacks under the bed, and threw a pack of shrimp sticks to Rao Kin. "Xiaonuan, you don't know that when the doctor gave you a critical illness notice," Dowdle's eyes were swollen from crying. "You said you didn't walk on the shore well in the winter, why did you fall into the ice hole?" Rao Kin rubbed Zhang Nuan's head and said, "You said, if our family's young master is gone, who will bring us the reference books in the future? Who will open the water for us? When we encounter bad boys and trouble us, who will help us? Stand up." Zhang Nuan touched his nose and smiled, "I can't bear you either. The most important thing is, Ken and I don't have a good sense of direction. There are so many places in the Nanshan cemetery. I want to send you Longwaxian, but I can't find a place." "Fortunately, you didn't hang up," Dowda quipped. But with his head down, Zhang Nuan didn't even need to look to know that Dowda's eyes were red. "I can't bear to hang up. Now on my left is the beautiful and indescribable fairy Rao Kin, and on the right is the pure, sweet, gentle and kind-hearted Cheng Dowdu. How can the blessing of Qi people be given to others?" Zhang Nuan raised his shoulders and hugged the two good sisters tightly. "And what about Lu Ran? Didn't he come to see you? You chased him for so long. This time, he was a heroic rescuer and took you into the ambulance. You finally lay in his arms, and there is no follow-up?" Rao Kin smiled with a crooked face, and even Cheng Dowdle looked like he was ready to listen to the story. Zhang Nuan was dumbfounded, looking like he had eaten the legs of a fly. "What the hell? I'm chasing Lu Ran? That Lu Ran with eyes above the top, stinky farts and no good words in his mouth." Zhang Nuan's eyes were round, completely shocked. "Could it be that you two heard about me? I can't remember things clearly for half a year, so come and fool me on purpose." Rao Kin and Chen Dowdle looked at each other. "No. You like Lu Ran's thing, our whole second grade class 3. I should say the whole grade, as long as you are not blind, you all know." Cheng Dowdu patted his head, "It's over. It turns out that fever can really make people lose their memory." "Yes." Zhang Nuan was stupid. It seemed that she was the blind man who didn't know Zhang Nuan likes Lu Ran. Compared with the knowledge points of the second semester of high school, she had forgotten all about it. She liked Lu Ran. It made her feel that it was not her brain that had a problem, but that the world had a problem. That is Lu Ran, the guy who can ride a bicycle indifferently in the eyes of girls admiringly, who can pass by without any lingering in the eyes of girls, who can face other boys' provocation and low-key responds to high-profile counterattacks, who can answer the teacher's problem in a coherent manner, the guy with the perfect mouth but a particularly vicious guy. "I don't deal with Lu Ran, don't you know?" Zhang Nuan looked at her too, trying to find traces of jokes in their eyes, but there was no trace at all. "I know. But that was before the first year of high school. You really don't remember?" Zhang Nuan's head shook like a rattle. Rao Kin sighed, "Okay, Dowdu, tell me." "Say what?" "That's how we Xianyuan likes Lu Ran." I don't know, why does she like Lu Ran?" Before, she wished that the school motto would fall and hit Lu Ran's head, but then she bought a bicycle and followed Lu Ran's after school. "I asked Lu Ran to teach her to do the questions after class, and she thought that my head was too big when I lined up for the morning meeting, and blocked her from watching Lu Ran raise the flag." Zhang Nuan froze there. Even if it was a midnight dream, she swore that she never thought that she would like Lu Ran one day. "It's not horror, it's horror. Everyone still has a legend that you chose the science class just to continue chasing Lu Ran. Otherwise, with your shabby physical chemistry grades, the liberal arts is the only way to go. Cheng Daodu took the Lay's potato chips apart again, screeching, it's like watching a super comedy movie, and Zhang Nuan is the tragic heroine. Zhang Nuan has grown up so big, and has never been interested in idol stars. At an ignorant age in junior high school, when everyone was madly infatuated with Meteor Garden, she found it difficult to understand. In reality, Dayaming Temple was a typical example of being named and criticized by the principal at the morning meeting every day and then being expelled from the school. In high school, when the girls were crazy about the new traffic niche, Zhang Nuan was reading martial arts novels under the table, admiring a tough guy like Xiao Feng, and disliking Duan Yu, who was so incapable of relying on luck and a little white face. The second-generation ancestor surrounded by a bunch of women. At the end of the first final exam, the female students around him often discussed the object from South Korea's Oppa to Lu Ran. Zhang Nuan found it even more difficult to understand. Whether you like Dayaming Temple or Nicholas Tse or Jay Zhou, at least these people are far away and have room for fantasy. But Lu Ran, isn't he born to disillusion girls? It is undeniable that Lu Ran is very good looking. In their second year of high school and even in the entire middle school attached to normal university, they have an outstanding temperament. But he really can achieve the instant kill effect by opening his mouth, and never want to be resurrected with full blood. Zhang Nuan was often scolded by him. For example, Zhang Nuan just entered the middle school attached to normal university, and he gave out his school uniform and tried it on while standing in front of the mirror. The damned Lu Ran said coldly with his pocket in his pocket, "Don't look at it, the dirt will crack the mirror." For example, Zhang Nuan's father asked Lu Ran to teach Zhang Nuan's chemistry. Lu Ran looked at Zhang Nuan's chemistry paper and concluded, "I found that you can't do both." Really? At that time, Zhang Nuan felt that his chemistry would save him. Who knows what Lu Ran said, "It's just this won't work, that won't work either." The arrow was hit in the knee, and it was split to the point that he couldn't get up again. For another example, after the midterm exam of the last semester of high school, Lu Ran followed his father to Zhang Nuan's house for dinner. Zhang Nuan's father shook Lu Ran's hand sincerely and said, "Just help my little Nuan, the cram school is not under-reporting, but why can't this girl's grades go up?" Who knew that when Zhang Nuan's father and Lu Ran's father went on the balcony to smoke and chat, Lu Ran took Zhang Nuan's coke and said to her, "For you, kindergarten is better." You said, how could Zhang Nuan like such a person? Even if her brain was broken, and reinforced concrete was poured in, she couldn't possibly like Lu Ran. "You must be playing with me." Zhang Nuan glanced at Cheng Daodu with great resistance. But Daodu made up the knife and said, "It's still written in your blog you are a white swan, I can't bear to eat swan meat, you just give me a piece of feathers." Messy to the point of goosebumps. Zhang Nuan immediately retorted, "I don't believe it." "What kind of white swan?" still said so humbly, "just give me a piece of feathers." This is simply not her sturdy style of despising all girlish hearts. Nima's feathers are not IQ, so what's the use of giving them to her? Is it possible to collect a piece every day and play a goose down quilt for the winter? Don't believe me, go home and watch it on the computer. Rao Kin looked like he was waiting for you to slap his face. But compared to this, the head teacher heard that you lost a lot of memory because of your high fever, so he told your parents that he wanted you to consider whether to follow the senior year next semester, to reread. Cheng Daodu pursed his lips and said, "But I don't want you to repeat the class, I want you to go to college with us." Yeah, that's the point. But she really forgot the knowledge points of the second semester of high school. She opened the winter vacation workbook 2 days ago, and she looked familiar, but sadly responded to Lu Ran's words, "It won't work either." "What did the doctor say?" "I don't think you're a fool. Don't you still recognize us?" "Hey, I have done a lot of tests, and the doctor said that my logic and memory should be fine. If I have lost my memory, maybe one day I will suddenly remember it, maybe." If I don't remember, I just don't remember. Anyway, you two are the most important to me. Yes, as long as I remember you. There is another option, which is to give up science and go to the liberal arts class. In this way, you should focus on picking up mathematics, otherwise physical chemistry will come together. I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it. Rao-Kin said. Let's put Lu Ran aside first, this is the worst thing to do. Zhang Nuan kicked his legs and fell backward, as if giving up treatment. Why did she choose the science class? Is it really because of Lu Ran? But in her short teen-year career, she was definitely not the kind of person who would change her choice for a certain boy, not to mention such a major matter of the college entrance examination as the placement of arts and sciences. After struggling for half a minute, Zhang Nuan asked Rao-Kin pitifully, Can the goblin or else I'll really be relegated? Even if you repeat a grade, the juniors and juniors in the first year of high school know that you like Lu Ran. If you want to avoid the fact that you have chased Lu Ran, you are stealing the bell. Rao-Kin smiled and lay back with Zhang Nuan. Together, by the way, leaning beside Zhang Nuan like a little bird. Cheng Daodu also lay down, and the three girls were leaning against each other, lying together. But it doesn't matter, anyway, everyone in the school knows that you have a problem with your brain. If you don't want to like Lu Ran anymore, you just have an excuse to change your mind. When did brain problems become a good thing? And if there is a problem with the brain, isn't it a mental disability? What is a change of heart? She obviously never had heart to Lu Ran. Rao-Kin's words can't comfort her. As soon as I get to school, no, when I get home, I have to meet Lu Ran. Before junior high school, Zhang Nuan and Lu Ran were not familiar with each other. They just heard from their parents how a child named Lu Ran was smart and excellent, and he also inherited the fencing skills of his parents. Zhang Nuan was unhappy at that time. Isn't that the bad mentality of you parents who always feel that other people's children are better than your own? Every time the name Lu Ran sounded, Zhang Nuan hummed in his heart, quickly use the nunchaku, hum hum ha ha. Watching you pretend to be hacked with a stick. But in the third year of junior high school, Lu Ran's family moved upstairs to Zhang Nuan. Because the two parents were familiar with each other, there were more exchanges. When Zhang Nuan saw Lu Ran in the elevator for the first time, he had to admit that he was surprised and watched it for 3 more seconds. Later, the disgusting level of this guy made Zhang Nuan regret that he wasted those 3 seconds of his life. It was hard for her to imagine that when she was discharged from the hospital and went home, if she saw Lu Ran in the elevator, what kind of expression this guy would make and what kind of words he would say to make her smoke. It's a pity, your grades improved very fast last semester, and you're all in the middle. Cheng Daodu said. Impossible. Just my sloppy math, physics, and chemistry. Because you have a super powerful cheater. Rao-Kin replied with a smile, it's better to let your cheater bless you again while the winter vacation is 2 weeks away. Hacks? What cheats? Lu Ran. Didn't Lu Ran teach you your math, physics, and chemistry? The word entanglement struck Zhang Nuan's heart again. This made her inexplicably think of a child in the supermarket, lying on the ground fooling around, kicking his legs and shaking his head, unless his parents bought something they liked before they would get up. How on earth did she endure Lu Ran's evaluation of her kindergarten is better and pester Lu Ran to teach her? Don't think so much. You are not fit to use your brain now. Rao-Kin comforted. Before the Chinese New Year, many patients were discharged from the hospital. Zhang Nuan's whole body, including his brain, was carefully examined. MRI was used, but nothing was found. The pneumonia was completely cured, so he was ready to be discharged. Zhang Nuan's father and mother packed her things and took her home. Sitting in the car, Zhang Nuan looked out the window. Everything outside the car window was so familiar, but a small part of her memory was lost. Zhang Nuan sighed. It's just a short paragraph, life is so long, the capacity of the brain is limited, and forgetting is to remember more important things. Zhang Nuan's mother Luo Chen put her arms around her daughter's shoulder and comforted her. Are you worried that you have forgotten all the knowledge from the second semester of high school? It doesn't matter, it is very likely that you will suddenly remember it when you read the book. Your father discussed it and asked a special teacher to make it up for you. If you still have an impression, you may be able to pick it up. The next semester starts, and the class teacher will arrange a test for you. If your grades are good, you can continue to read. If the grades are not satisfactory, we will study it again for the next semester as a solid foundation. Zhang Nuan glanced at her father, Zhang Huai, who was driving. She knew deeply that he was a saber athlete and always hoped that her daughter could go to a good university instead of graduating from high school like her father did. After retiring, she lost her athlete. The halo of life, the choice of life is much less. You have to eat one bite at a time, and you have to walk step by step. Since you have returned to the same place, if you can't catch up with others when you run, it is better to start from the same place and walk step by step more steadily than others. Zhang Huai opened his mouth. Zhang Nuan turned her face to the side, looked out the window, and whispered, I don't like reading, I think it's good to go to a sports school and be an athlete. Mother glanced at Zhang Nuan and motioned her to stop mentioning the matter of the sports school. Father Zhang Huai's greatest hope for Zhang Nuan is that she will be able to enter a university seriously. When he got home, Zhang Nuan took a hot bath and sat in front of his desk. He suddenly remembered what Cheng Daodu had said about the white swan in his blog, and hurried to his parents' study. In their home, computers are strictly controlled. Afraid that Zhang Nuan's addiction to the internet will affect his studies, his parents usually lock the door of the study, but they never imagined that there is a place outside called Internet Cafe. The mother who was preparing the evening hot pot in the kitchen shouted, Hey, you girl, why do you go to the computer as soon as you come back? Mom, I have something to confirm. Otherwise, even if the Buddha's light shines, I won't go to heaven. Zhang Nuan originally wanted to log into his blog, but who knows, the password is wrong. Her birthday plus the house number, not right. Her student number plus birthday, not right. Her parents' birthday month, not right. Can't even try it. Forget it. Password, try again tomorrow. Take a look at what you've posted today. Zhang Nuan searched for herself, and then she saw the blog that made her heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys burst. You are a white swan, but I am reluctant to eat swan meat. You can give me a piece of feathers. Oh my God! It's not just hot eyes. It is simply a denial of the sturdy life of the past 10 years. Can't watch it any longer. If she keeps watching, she will lose the courage to live. Fortunately, only Daodu and Rao can know about her blog, and both of them left a message under the blog. Quack 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 pee, hee hee, as soon as Mr. Nuan came out, he went bald and the swan was hairless. The fairy of the Nile, toads eat swan meat, let's eat roast duck. And an ID she had never seen before also left a sentence, I would rather you always be an ugly duckling who doesn't grow up. Nima, the ugly duckling who never grows up? This person has a grudge against me. The ugly duckling will never become a white swan when it grows up. This is the same as cursing that the little green worm can never break its cocoon and become a butterfly. Of course, it may just be an ugly moth after breaking its cocoon. Zhang Nuan immediately turned off the computer, and she was no longer in the mood to retrieve the password. At this time, the mother in the kitchen shouted, Xiao Nuan, do me a favor and put the tableware and chopsticks. Zhang Nuan turned off the computer, cleaned up his mood, and walked out, looking at the table full of lamb slices, beef slices, tofu, fish balls, and vegetables, dumbfounded. Mom! It's just our family of 3, what are you doing with so many dishes? Even if you want to make it up for her, it's not like this. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Today Lu Ran came back from the imperial capital. His father has to work overtime to prepare for the club fencing league at this stop, and his mother will not come back from her training until tomorrow. Lu Ran will have dinner with our family tonight. Zhang Nuan was holding the bowl and almost slipped. Lu Ran is coming to our house for dinner. What's wrong with you? Lu Ran came to our house for dinner before, weren't you very happy? Am I happy? How am I happy? The fly hand rubbing style appeared in her mind, looking forward to it. Also, Lu Ran brought you out of the pond this time. The doctor said that if it's later, you'll be gone. Luo Chen brought the stewed bone soup, this is their hot pot soup base, and then gave Zhang Nuan a serious look, you didn't know how scary you were at that time. The children on the shore were crying, and a few adults were in a hurry and didn't know where you were. Only Lu Ran jumped down to look for it without saying anything. Is you? The pond is not deep. I remember it seems to be 1 meter 8. Not deep? Not deep, it's more than your height. You can't even climb up. Lu Ran pushed you up, and you were unconscious. Originally, Lu Ran was going to the imperial capital for confrontation training that afternoon, but you got pneumonia. The hospital said that your high fever will not go down and your brain will be broken. Your father and I are both blinded. It was Lu Ran who accompanied us for 2 days. I will queue up for you to pay, and deliver food and water. They are all teenage children. Lu Ran is really sensible. Hearing this, Zhang Nuan was surprised. Because she always felt that Lu Ran was the kind of guy who was very indifferent to other people's affairs, but she didn't expect that he would save her. Of course, life is a matter of course, and they are all classmates, so it's not impossible for them to die, but Zhang Nuan didn't expect that her parents would stay with her in the hospital for 2 days. At this moment, the doorbell rang, Zhang Nuan's heart trembled, and she saw her mother rushing to the door with a warm voice, Lu Ran is here. Come in. Are you tired of rushing back from the imperial capital for the new year? Thank you auntie, I'm fine, I'm not tired. In the moist and warm hot pot, Lu Ran's voice has a calm and restrained voice that does not belong to this age, just like the wind blowing through the treetops in winter, with pieces of ice slamming into one after another cold voice, once it cracks, the warmth of another world will flow in. Where's your luggage? Let's go home. Lu Ran stood at the door and changed his slippers. At this time, Zhang Nuan could only see the top of his head. Because of his fencing practice, he is taller than other boys in his grade, typical of long arms and long legs. Female classmates who like to watch Korean dramas are full of fantasies about Lu Ran's long legs. He is putting his head down and putting his shoes into the shoe cabinet. From this angle, Zhang Nuan can just see his straight nose and slightly upward lashes. Lu Ran's eyelashes are very long, but they are not feminine. On the contrary, they make his neat facial features appear much softer. Oops! I boiled rice wine and stewed eggs. I almost forgot. As soon as mother walked away, there was no more shelter between Zhang Nuan and Lu Ran. Lu Ran was wearing a dark-colored knee-length coat, and even casual slacks. Zhang Nuan could imagine that the lines of his calf must be smooth and powerful. The smoky grey and white woolen collar seemed to be a little short, and it only went around the neck, and the strong chin was buried in the collar, which gave him a little boyish temperament. The words in my blog flashed in my mind: you are a white swan, but I am reluctant to eat swan meat, you can give me a piece of feathers. Zhang Nuan took a step back, but Lu Ran just raised his head. There was not much turbulence in those clear eyes. He took off his coat indifferently and hung it on the hanger by the door. Are you ill? His voice was still cold from the north. All right. Can you do homework during the winter vacation? Lu Ran turned his back to her, his voice light. No, the things I learned in the second year of high school are returned to the teacher. Zhang Nuan licked his lower lip. But more than 10 seconds passed, and Lu Ran's voice was not heard. As soon as Zhang Nuan raised his eyes, he found that Lu Ran was leaning towards him. Under the backlight, there seemed to be a faint streamer in his eyes, making her unpredictable. Which teacher can teach you? What? Zhang Nuan subconsciously took a half step back. But Lu Ran got closer, and his cool voice sounded in her ear, "Accept me." What? Not to the teacher, but to me. Lu Ran glanced at Zhang Nuan and walked to the kitchen. "Aunt Luo, I'll serve you the rice wine." Like a hallucination, the tense heart slowly unwinds. It seems that Rao Kan said that Lu Ran was a plugin she got into in the science class. Wasn't it made up? Oh, leave it to me here. Just go and sit, and I'll bake you a patty, and you'll have a pad for your stomach. Zhang Nuan touched her chin. Could it be that she had paid for the phone bill as a gift, or she had just been discharged from the hospital after recovering from a serious illness, and her mother did not cook her braised pork, but baked a meat pie for Lu Ran? Lu Ran helped Zhang Nuan's mother put the rice wine pot on the table. Zhang Nuan's father also finished the phone call and came over from the balcony to eat. Oh! Lu Ran is here. I heard that in this practice match, you almost won Jianming. It's incredible, and the future generations are terrifying. Jianming was the first student of his father Zhang Huai, and he was the most proud of him. He was the saber champion of the National Collegiate Fencing League, and was also selected to participate in the Youth Olympic Games. Zhang Nuan lowered his head and underestimated a sentence in a low voice, "I almost won, but I lost. Why is it still fearful for future generations?" The speed of conciseness is very fast, and the distance control of stepping back and defensive counterattack is worth learning from. He has more actual combat experience than you. I watched the video of your practice match, and it's beyond my expectation that you can suppress him for so long. Zhang Nuan's father poured a glass of rice wine and held the cup with Lu Ran. "You, where's your father? Did he put pressure on you again?" "It's not a pressure, it's just asking me to analyze the reason why I lost to Jane." "Is it the reason for every sword? Many things in this world cannot be achieved through hard work and diligence, and it takes time." The two chatted, which made Zhang Nuan a little envious. Lu Ran practiced the sword with her father. They had a lot of topics, but her father didn't teach her much. This feeling made Zhang Nuan sour. When she was a child, Zhang Nuan's father was the object of her showing off. He once won the championship at the World Championships and also won the bronze medal at the Olympic Games. But as she grew up little by little, Zhang Nuan stopped showing off to others, because such a father refused to teach Zhang Nuan fencing, insisting that she study hard every day and get into a good university, but instead devoted herself to Lu Ran. "Do your best." Zhang Nuan knew that part of her previous disgust with Lu Ran was also due to envy. Turning his face to the side, "Lu Ran looks good even when he eats hot pot." His eyebrows and eyes are like ink dyed, and his seemingly cold and unwilling facial features have a faint charm. "Don't look. No matter how good looking it is not on my own face." Zhang Nuan's chopsticks were in the pot for a long time, but she didn't pick up the fish balls. She persisted for more than 10 seconds, and finally picked them up tremblingly. Before they left the range of the pot, the fish fell back and splashed. She had a soup on her own. "Oh, mother! Oh, you kid, you don't need a good colander, what are you doing with chopsticks?" Luo Chen got up and went to the kitchen to get a rag. Zhang Nuan hurriedly lowered his head, and the soup fell down his cheeks. A napkin was stretched out and placed under her chin. Zhang Nuan quickly followed, and she turned her face to see that it was Lu Ran. The other party's chopsticks were on the plate, and his chin was gently resting on the top of the chopsticks. He looked at her sideways, and the corners of his lips had the illusion of a slight depression. "I thought you were just full of imagination, but I didn't expect that you were always slipping your hands. When playing games, your teammates must often use the power outage as an excuse to drop the line. The brain is full of imagination means that the brain hole is big, and the further extension of the brain hole is brain damage. Zhang Nuan was just looking in the direction of his father and wanted him to decide for him. Who knew that his father was talking to Lu Ran's father on the phone, but he didn't hear what Lu Ran said at all. At this time, his mother also came back with a rago, and wiped off the oily soup on the table. At this time, he saw Lu Ran reaching for the hot pot with his chopsticks. With his straight and long fingers, he easily picked up the fish balls, put them in his own bowl, dipped them in the dipping sauce, and blew with his eyes down. Blow it, and then bite it off. It feels as if my IQ has been bitten off in one bite. A little pain in my head. Hey, that fish ball was picked up by me with chopsticks. Zhang Nuan squinted and smiled, so it has my saliva on it. In Zhang Nuan's impression, Lu Ran never touched what others had eaten. Zhang Nuan, who was still expecting his reaction, was disappointed, but the other party turned his face to look at her indifferently. Just now when you were drinking rice wine, took the wrong cup of mine. What? Zhang Nuan lowered her head to take a look. Her cup and Lu Ran's cup were placed very close together. It seemed that she really got it wrong. There are relatively few rice wine eggs in her glass, but the one she has now has more. I'll give it back to you. Zhang Nuan hurriedly moved the cup, then took a sip from his own cup, as if to confirm his sovereignty. Who knew Lu Ran would say another sentence, I lied to you just now. Now you really drank the rice wine I drank. Zhang Nuan almost didn't squirt out. Nima. This is too much. However, Lu Ran took his cup from Zhang Nuan comfortably, took a sip, and there was an imperceptible smile in the corner of his eyes. Zhang Ruan's bulging is almost turning into a puffer fish. Moreover, at the dinner table, Zhang Nuan's father directly chatted with Lu Ran about Zhang Nuan's plans for the next semester. Hey, I don't have any hope that Xiao Nuan can pick up the knowledge from last semester. It's almost New Year's Eve, where can I find a teacher for her? The cram school can't be stuffed into it. If it doesn't work, I'll just go to high school. Let's start the semester again. For this, Zhang Nuan was reluctant in his heart. No matter how he said that it was a big deal to repeat the class, it was self-comfort. After all, as Dao Du said, she didn't want to stagger her life with them at all. I want to keep up with their rhythm and live the same life. In the current situation, sending her to a cram school is also a get-out-of-class change. The cram school is suitable for people who have a certain foundation and need to improve. Now she needs someone to sort out her basic knowledge systematically and logically. Zhang Nuan, who was putting the mutton in his mouth, almost didn't spit it out. What a chicken, a plane. Then what should I do? Where can I find someone to accompany her to learn the basics? Zhang Nuan's father was silent for half a minute. Zhang Nuan ate all the mutton in the pot by himself. Zhang Nuan's father's next sentence she almost choked to death, or Lu Ran, teach Xianyuan. What? Lu Ran taught me? He is also a student, how can he teach me? Indeed, in terms of grades, Lu Ran is a typical person who doesn't usually work very hard and can still sit firmly in the top 10 in the first examination room. Didn't you go upstairs with your homework book every day to ask Lu Ran to teach you? You even got into the top 3 exam rooms. Luo Chen said with a smile. Mom, that's when I was young and ignorant. Oh, wait, let's forget it. Have a good winter vacation, you also have your own things to do, you have to study, and you have to train. I'll accompany her to review it. Uncle has been distracted a lot these days. Are you worried that Zhang Nuan will repeat his class? Oh, isn't it? Zhang Nuan couldn't take it anymore. She really didn't want to stay with her gossip object. It was almost a whole winter vacation. After the hot pot was finished, Lu Ran helped clear the dishes, put on his coat and prepared to go home. Zhang Nuan, my scarf. Lu Ran said softly. The scarf was on the sofa. Zhang Nuan picked it up reluctantly. The thread was not tightly woven, and his fingers could pass through it, and it was a short section when he picked it up. Someone must have knitted it by hand for him, and still a novice, and stupid enough. Such a short scarf is only enough to go around once, can it be airtight? Zhang Nuan handed the scarf over, not forgetting to stab the other side. Which idiot knitted it for you? Such a big hole. Can it block the wind? When Lu Ran put on the scarf, he lowered his head and leaned in Zhang Nuan's direction. Zhang Nuan didn't know where the vigilance came from, and always felt that when Lu Ran approached her, there must be no good words. What do you think? The cold voice as always, but the rising end made Zhang Nuan unable to stop his infinite imagination. What's the matter, Xian Yuan? The parents who had just cleaned the table came over. It's nothing, just talking about Lu Ran's scarf. Didn't you knit that scarf? Dad said rightfully. Zhang Nuan stood there, stunned for a few seconds. This is not true. How could this be true? She just said that the scarf was made by a fool. If she likes someone, she will definitely swipe the bicycle in front of the boy, raise her chin and say, "Hey classmate, I like you very much, do you want to be together?" Straightforward and straight to the point. Knitting woolen scarves, it's really a poetic feeling. Zhang Nuan looked at his father, then at his mother, pointed to the door and said, "I definitely didn't knit that. It wasn't that Lu Ran took you into the top 3 exams of the grade, did you promise to weave for him?" Zhang Nuan's father said. Zhang Nuan looked at his mother again. Dad doesn't know his daughter, and mom should know that her daughter is not only not that kind of material at all, but where did she find the wool? That's the easiest way to stitch. I've taught you for a long time. Later, you were afraid that you wouldn't be able to go to the imperial capital in time for Lu Ran's winter vacation, so you came and begged me, or I knitted the second half of it for you. Mom, I'm a sophomore in high school. Ah! Zhang Nuan's mother looked like, what does this have to do with you knitting a scarf for Lu Ran? Second-year students should study hard every day, how to weave scarves. That night, she went back to her room and tossed and turned, unable to sleep at all. He kicked his legs hard twice, as if struggling in vain. What the is wrong with her? Unable to sleep at all, Zhang Nuan decided to harass his girlfriend. She huddled under the quilt and called Rao Kan. After calling several times in a row, the phone was connected. It is estimated that Rao Kan, the goblin, is applying a mask. Xiaonuan, why did you suddenly call? Kan, I just don't understand, I have a lump in my heart, and I won't feel comfortable if I don't solve it. Scratch your heart and scratch your lungs. Yet. I'm so sad. Let me tell you, Lu Ran came to our house for dinner today. Your parents treat Lu Ran better than you, but are you sad again? Rao Kan said with a smile. It's not this. Of course, this is one of them. Did you know that Lu Ran has a scarf around his neck? It's very short and sparse. I know. You knitted it for him. Zhang Nuan closed his eyes, wishing he could just pass out like this. How could I knit a scarf for him? You don't think it's strange, why don't you stop me? I stopped you. How did you stop it? I asked you to buy one. There are no styles in the market, such as red, black, yellow, and wool scarves that weigh by the caddy. Yes. This is good. With that kind of scarf worn by ants, she couldn't believe that Lu Ran could be so ruthless. But you have to knit it by hand, just like the head is lowered. But I just want to say that your scarf is knitted like that, it's really not as good as buying a weight scale in the market. Okay, I'll never knit scarves for others again. I just don't understand, how can I like Lu Ran? It's better than saying you like Phelan Dafa King Jinlun. Yes, I admire King Jinlun. No matter how revengeful he is and how many villains in the early stage, when Guo Xiang was in danger, he still gave up everything to save Guo Xiang. It's still normal for Lu Ran. Like Lu Ran is a very kitsch aesthetic. You still remember when I was in the first year of high school, I just borrowed his mathematical editing to see, he picked it all up, and said in front of so many students in the class, Zhang Nuan, with your ability, it is normal to finish the previous basic questions, but copying it later will make the teacher have unreasonable expectations for you. A bunch of people are laughing. Why doesn't he copy his homework? When I speak, I just glance at it, just like I moved his safe away. That's right. It was Liu Ran who really saved your life that time. Several students who copied his later big questions were asked to answer them, but they didn't know what to do, and stood in a row in the corridor. The teacher also praised you, saying that although you are not good at math, you will be able to do it, and you will not be able to do it. At least let the teacher know what to teach you. You always remember this, right? Remember. That is to say, Xianyuan, liking a person may be accumulated over time, or it may be because the other person has done something that you need most and pierce your heart the most, then what he once said and did that did not please you, it's going to be cute. You speak as if Liu Ran had done something earth-shattering. Do you remember who was your desk mate before the first year of high school? Li Shiyu. I remember. Did she go to the liberal arts class? Yes. Li Shiyu has just passed 100 in English in the final exam of the first year of high school. According to her strength, she should be a contestant with a score of 130 or more. When teacher Cai, who taught English at that time, was explaining the final exam paper, you and Li Shiyu happened to be together. Talking small talk. Oh, mother, teacher Cai likes Li Shiyu the most, and she will definitely spread the fire of her declining grades on me. Oh, you can see now, why are you crying? What? I still remember that scene. Teacher Cai directly pulled you up from the chair and said in front of everyone that you influenced Li Shiyu's study, and held her to talk small talk every day. No way. I can't talk to Li Shiyu again. Yet, you're a person who can't be wronged, and immediately said that Li Shiyu was holding you to talk about the Korean drama you watched last night. How could teacher Cai listen, and in front of the whole class told you to stand in the last row to listen to the lecture, don't affect Li Shiyu's study. Li Shiyu lowered her head and dared not speak. Guess who stood up in front of the whole class to protect you? Don't tell me, it's Liu Ran. That's right. As soon as you walked past him, he suddenly stood up. Teacher Cai asked him what was wrong, and he just said, Cai, it's not logical for you to accuse Zhang Nuan of affecting Li Shiyu's studies. Zhang Nuan was stunned, she really couldn't imagine Liu Ran standing up to challenge teacher Cai. Mr. Cai asked what's not logical. Liu Ran replied, Zhang Nuan scored 115 points in the English test this time, and Li Shiyu scored 105 points, a difference of 10 points. How did Zhang Nuan disturb Li Shiyu in class while making a big difference? How about improving your English grades? The classmates all looked at teacher Cai, and even one or two applauded without thinking. Teacher Cai was blocked and couldn't say anything, and called you back to your seat with a cold face. You ask me why you chose the science class. I don't think it's because of Liu Ran, but because teacher Cai is the head teacher of the liberal arts class. You think she has prejudice against you, and that incident really hurt you. Love face, where can I go to the liberal arts class to accept the leadership of teacher Cai? Zhang Nuan tilted her head, as if a vague shadow flashed in her mind. A tall and unshakable figure stood in front of her, questioning and resisting the injuries imposed on her. You don't even remember this, do you? It seems to be a bit of an impression. So, I'm in love with him. Who knows? When you fell in love with him, only you know. After chatting with Rao Qian, Zhang Nuan was sitting on the head of the bed. She didn't dare to close her eyes, because as soon as she closed her eyes, she would imagine Liu Ran's back standing up. In my mind, no matter how I wipe it, I can't wipe it off. But Zhang Nuan was a big-hearted person. After a while, he pulled the quilt up, and Liu Ran, teacher Cai, and Li Shiyu were all thrown out of Juxiayun. The next day, when Zhang Nuan was still in a hurry, her mother opened the door and pulled her up. Xiao Nuan, wake up. What are you doing when you wake up? I'm on vacation. Zhang Nuan raised his leg and clamped the quilt, and was about to continue sleeping, but the quilt was pulled away mercilessly. Lu Ran is here. Didn't your dad say yesterday that Lu Ran would help you pick up things from last semester? What? Lu Ran is here. Zhang Nuan sat up suddenly, glanced at the alarm clock by the bed. It was only 8 in the morning. It's so early, is it tutoring or reincarnation? Yet. Hurry up, brush your teeth and wash your face, I'll go make breakfast for you too. Study hard after breakfast. You really want to repeat your grades? Zhang Nuan turned his face sideways, and looked towards the living room from the crack of the open door, just in time to see Lu Ran's profile face. Fortunately, he didn't continue to wrap around the unfinished scarf. Otherwise, he would really be embarrassed. Zhang Nuan brushed his teeth and washed his face as quickly as possible, and came out neatly dressed. Mom happened to bring red bean porridge and hot steamed buns. Come and have something to eat. Lu Ran stood up with a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. Thank you, Auntie. Zhang Nuan was stunned for a while. Lu Ran's smile was beautiful, but unfortunately it was almost only at the elders he respected. Simply scheming boy. Serious and sensible, adults believe him. In Zhang Nuan's heart, high cold plus serious plus sensible equals boring. When she thought of the rumor that she had chased this boring guy for a semester, she got a head start. Don't be embarrassed, don't be embarrassed, everything is outside the body, you can become a Buddha if you have no face and no skin, no matter how many Lu Rans are, they are all bubble phantoms. The more embarrassed you are, the more Lu Ran will laugh at you with that Jianghe rumor. Hey, Lu Ran, why did you get up so early? Have a good winter vacation and don't sleep in. Zhang Nuan reached out and took a bun. You'll get burned. Lu Ran Gujing's unwavering voice was in stark contrast to Zhang Nuan's scorched tongue. Zhang Nuan's tears fell, and she saw Lu Ran holding a glass in front of her slender fingers. Zhu Beiji was so anxious that the ceiling was scalded by hot tofu. Zhang Nuan stared hard at Lu Ran. Are you laughing? Are you laughing? When Mom came out with a stack of side dishes, the depression at the corner of Lu Ran's mouth was like a boat being submerged by the ocean, and he couldn't see anything. Zhang Nuan's tongue hurt, so he quickly took a big mouthful of cold water. Lu Ran calmly poked the bun into his bowl with his chopsticks, took a bite of the side dish, and waited for the heat in the bun to escape from the small hole poked by the chopsticks. Zhang Nuan's mother is now babbling. Zhang Nuan, there are several high school students practicing swordsmanship with your father. After finishing their winter vacation homework, they can still adhere to basic training every day, and there are confrontation exercises from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But I don't know, you're not good at studying, you've been shouting all day that you want to practice fencing with your father, but I haven't seen you practice. Zhang Nuan nodded, trying to plug his ears. Lu Ran drank a bowl of porridge, ate 2 buns, sat in the same place, turned his face to look at Zhang Nuan. His silence and his gaze made Zhang Nuan almost unable to sit still, but she still ate the bun slowly, deliberately dragging the limited time to infinity. After about 5 minutes, Lu Ran stood up and hooked Zhang Nuan's back collar with his fingers. Go. Study. I haven't finished eating yet. Eating too much can leave your brain with insufficient blood flow. Lu Ran's fingertips were warm, and when she was holding Zhang Nuan's back collar, her fingers pressed against the back of her neck. Zhang Nuan's shoulders shrugged immediately, but Lu Ran's fingers pressed even tighter. You, don't drag me. My neck is about to break. Zhang Nuan sat at the table and watched Lu Ran spread out the math textbook for the second year of high school in front of her. She scratched her head and said, Oh. Your IQ is not on the same level, you want me to master the knowledge of the second year of high school for more than 2 weeks, it is simply anti-human. Hurry up. Start with the proposition. Just let me repeat. The big deal is that I'll go to the liberal arts class. Zhang Nuan leaned back and sighed. He didn't hear a word from Lu Ran for a long time, so he turned to look at him. Lu Ran's expression was stern. He was holding the water pen with his fingers. Because of the force, the originally beautiful knuckles were turning white, but they loosened when Zhang Nuan first noticed it. I said to repeat the grade or go to the liberal arts class, so you don't need to be so angry. Zhang Nuan quickly sat up straight, and put on a serious look. I managed to send you to the top 3 exam rooms of the grade, and you'll tell me if you choose to repeat the grade or the liberal arts class. Lu Ran's voice has a refreshing function. He squinted his eyes, supported his chin, and his fingers gently knocked, as if thinking about something. Zhang Nuan was a little nervous. What are you thinking? I was thinking, should I take revenge on you? Lu Ran's eyes slowly turned to the side. You're not serious, are you? Xiao Nuan, between you and others, the smallest difference is IQ, and the biggest difference is persistence. Zhang Nuan smiled indifferently. Oh my god, Lu Ran, don't give me chicken soup. What I know is, the harder you work, the more you understand how important the gap in IQ is. You have never spread out the papers like that. The pain of sitting at a desk all night and not being able to answer the questions. This is the gap between me and you. But I understand you. If you teach me math and chemistry to use a game as an analogy, you are now a cut number. If you start all over again, you will definitely be angry. But if you think about it, for example, it took you 4 months to complete the game, and if you try again, you can't finish it in 2 weeks. Why is it impossible? At least this time there will be no detours. Lu Ran tapped the tip of the pen on the scratch paper. Zhang Nuan took a breath and leaned over. She didn't intend to listen carefully, but Lu Ran's voice was cold, and unknowingly, it was as if he had caught his thoughts and led him all the way forward. Maybe students who have learned well have their own memories and ways of thinking. Like a river, Zhang Nuan flows down this river, and those knowledge points that she thinks impossible to master are just strung together. In just one morning, Lu Ran finished talking about conic sections and equations, and led Zhang Nuan to do a lot of questions. When Zhang Nuan reacted, it was almost lunch. Why do you say you have to teach me? Just because of my dad? Zhang Nuan asked curiously. Here are 4 options. A. Teaches you to be more challenging than the Olympics. B. I don't want your father to worry about you. C. We have an agreement. D. I have ulterior motives and have other plans. Lu Ran used his transparent voice when he read these 4 options. Zhang Nuan had the illusion of going to the exam room. It must be B. Lu Ran looked at her, his eyes were very deep and far. The longer he looked, the more he seemed to be caught by his eyes. You can't choose the correct answer for the 4 options of the multiple choice question. I am worried about whether you can find the right person for the more than 6 billion people in the world. If not B, is it A? Or is it C? But she forgot the agreement between them. Lu Ran, are you staying here for lunch? Zhang Nuan's mother knocked on the door and asked. No auntie, I'll take the food to eat with Uncle Zhang. Now Lu Ran's fencing coach is Zhang Nuan's father Zhang Huai. Oh, that's even better. Thank you. Before leaving, Lu Ran put a paper directly on Zhang Nuan's head. I will do this paper in the afternoon. I will come back from training in the evening to help you take a look, and I will teach you physics by the way. Zhang Nuan took the paper off the top of his head and looked at Lu Ran with deep puzzlement in his heart. Lu Ran carried the insulation bucket and sat on the chair by the door to tie his shoelaces. You haven't said what the answer is. Zhang Nuan wanted to ask, but was afraid of being scolded by Lu Ran. The correct answer is D. Lu Ran raised his head, his brows raised slowly, the air between them was clearly separated by an insurmountable gap, but something brushed Zhang Nuan's heart with his eyelashes. I have ulterior motives and have no plans. What can you get from me? Zhang Nuan almost broke his brain. This is definitely just a trap for Lu Ran to trouble her. If it is true, it will be ridiculed. Back at the dinner table, after working hard all morning, Zhang Nuan was really starving and ate a whole braised sea bass and a big bowl of rice. While serving her vegetables, her mother said, Lu Ran is here to teach you today. It reminds me of how he taught you before, but I have more patience. Ah? How did he teach me before? I'm just asking if you understand, and you say how do you get from this step to the next? Lu Ran will tell you, but you still don't understand. Although he didn't lose his temper, he looked at the way he was rubbing the scratch paper. I guess this kid is running out of patience with you. For one question, you used a lot of scratch paper, and your wastebasket is full. But today I don't seem to hear you say you don't understand. Zhang Nuan's chopsticks froze there. She remembered what Lu Ran said before teaching her, at least this time, there will be no detours. Could it be that he had tortured Lu Ran for too long before, and the leader of Lu's Zhuyang divine art has entered the realm of transformation? How did he teach Zhang Nuan to reach the highest level of integration? He had been concentrating for too long in the morning. Zhang Nuan went to take a nap as soon as he finished eating, and slept all the way until 3:30. Xiao Nuan, Xiao Nuan. Well, what's the matter, Mom? Lu Ran called me just now to remind you, don't forget to do the math papers. If you have more time, just study physics. Zhang Nuan lifted the quilt and said with a sad face, it's winter vacation, okay. Why don't you let me sleep until it's dark? Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Mom came over and pulled Zhang Nuan's quilt. We all have 100 years. After 100 years, you can sleep as long as you want. Zhang Henan hummed and got up, sat in front of the desk and pouted, and when he looked up, he saw Lu Ran's handwriting on the scratch paper all over the table. Some people speak like people, but Lu Ran's handwriting has no sense of arrogance at all. It is clean and smooth, but it is harder than Zhang Nuan imagined. Rao Qin seemed to have told her that serious and affectionate people write hard. The author has something to say. I think we should analyze what Lu Ran is complaining about at the moment. A. What about taking the Tsinghua University and Peking University exams together? Seems unlikely to be feasible. B. I am of learning in the science class. Do you still want to go to the liberal arts class? Do you want to be beaten on the table, chair, and all kinds of things? See, the neck is so cute, I really want to touch it again. D. When will the brain recover? E. Please continue to add little angels, ha ha ha. Love, what a ghost. Zhang Nuan picked up the scrap paper on the table and looked at it. Deep affection is not suitable for Lu Ran at all. There seems to be no lust in his world. During the summer vacation of the first year of high school, students who have finished the college entrance examination return to school. When Zhang Nuan and Rao Qin went to the sports goods warehouse to bring materials to the head teacher, they heard Lu Ran and a girl who graduated from high school talking behind the warehouse. Lu Ran took the information the other party brought him, said thank you and turned around, but who knew that the senior sister hugged him from behind. At that time, Zhang Nuan's chin was about to fall, but Rao Qin covered her mouth and she didn't cry out. That senior met Lu Ran in the debate competition. She got good grades and was very beautiful. That day, she specially wore a skirt and white sneakers. With an enviable and exquisite beauty, she was clinging to Lu Ran's back in less than a second, and Lu Ran broke it apart. Leave yourself to the right person. In their school days, girls liked and admired boys with good grades, not to mention Lu Ran's good looks and stature. Even a senior sister who was 2 years older than them was still a girl. If it was other boys who would have hugged the senior sister for all kinds of comfort, maybe there would have been a graduation kiss. When Lu Ran left, he didn't look back or hesitate. He is a person who lives in his own world, and Zhang Nuan has no way of imagining his wavering expression and losing his focus on the things he is good at. Putting all these aside, Zhang Nuan turned over the previous knowledge points and Lu Ran's notes, and actually made a whole paper. The most important thing is, the big answer, she is no longer just writing the word solution. Smooth from start to finish. This undoubtedly enhanced Zhang Nuan's self-confidence. Could it be that her scum can still go up the wall? Although Lu Ran told her that she wanted her to read physics in advance, but the winter vacation, just wanted to relax. Zhang Nuan leaned against the chair, shook it, and suddenly caught sight of the one piece that he had hidden on the keyboard shelf of his desk earlier. Oh my god, how long has this been on? There is a thin layer of ash all over it. If her mother finds out, she must be thrown up and beaten. I guess I borrowed it before I lost my memory. The deposit from the bookstore will not be returned. Why don't you look at the rent a few more times? Zhang Nuan pulled the keyboard shelf away, spread the comics there, and read it with relish, so much so that the mother who was watching TV in the living room opened the door and said Lu Ran is here without hearing it. When her mother knocked on Zhang Nuan's room door, Zhang Nuan, who was guilty of a thief, pushed the keyboard in with her stomach. Who knew that due to inertia, the comic book fell from the other side of the keyboard shelf and landed on the instep. What are you doing sneaking? Zhang Nuan's mother didn't like Zhang Nuan's reading comic books. She always felt that playing with things would affect her studies. She came over and pulled Zhang Nuan's keyboard frame away, but there was nothing on it. Zhang Nuan secretly exhaled, I just wanted to stand up to welcome Lu Ran, and I slammed the keyboard stand into it. Zhang Nuan moved and quietly kicked the comic book under the bed next to her. Really? Your belly is really big. Zhang Nuan's mother said suspiciously. Of course it is. As soon as he looked up, Zhang Nuan met the eyes of Lu Ran who was standing behind his mother. Zhang Nuan was convinced that what he saw was not an illusion, and there was a smile in Lu Ran's eyes. That kind of laughter is like an adult seeing through a child's trick, with ridicule and tolerance. But on closer inspection, it seemed that there was nothing. Zhang Nuan's mother came over to see Zhang Nuan's feet, and Zhang Nuan immediately became nervous. Lu Ran walked to her desk and picked up the math paper in front of her. You got the big answer right, and you have mastered the basics. Although this paper is simple. Lu Ran's words immediately caught the attention of Zhang Nuan's mother. Seeing her mother go out, Zhang Nuan let out a sigh of relief. But Lu Ran came to Zhang Nuan's chair unhurriedly, squatted down on one knee, and fished out the comic book with ease. That, I also need entertainment. But what surprised Zhang Nuan was that, in addition to One Piece, Lu Ran actually found a book The Sky is the Bank of Red River. It was Cheng Daodu who came to play at her house a long time ago. Lu Ran's hand slid across the paper quickly. Zhang Nuan was shocked and immediately stepped forward to throw the book down, but Lu Ran easily pushed her back. You actually like watching this kind of thing? It's not mine. It's Cheng Daodu's. OMG. Although she hadn't read much of that comic, she remembered a lot of indescribable content. Lu Ran didn't answer her, just put the two comic books in his coat pocket. What are you doing with my comic book? Return the book. Do you know where to go? Zhang Nuan showed a surprised expression. There are fewer and fewer bookstores for rent in this city, and this bookstore was only found by her after a lot of hard work. I know. Would you like me to borrow the one from the back for you? Lu Ran's arm passed over Zhang Nuan's shoulder, took her high school physics textbook, and flipped through it, just in time to see Zhang Nuan's drawing when he was deserting in class Luffy. Zhang Nuan's eyes lit up. Really? Are you really willing to borrow it for me? I mean One Piece. Lu Ran coldly threw a beautiful thought and walked out. Zhang Nuan was stunned for a second, then kicked his legs in anger. I'll fall in love with you. As soon as Zhang Nuan lowered his head, he saw the little water-spraying whale that he had drawn with a pencil on the corner of the physics textbook. If you flip the page quickly, you can see the water column above the little whale's head getting higher and higher, and the little whale's mouth is still grinning. Who knows how in the last 2 pages, another shark came out, opened its big mouth, and bit the head of the little whale in one bite. Zhang Nuan's shoulders froze, and his head hurt inexplicably. Who is so boring? Tampering with the little whale she drew. After dinner, Zhang Nuan had the papers spread out in front of him, but he couldn't answer a single question because Lu Ran was reading the book The Sky is the Red River Bank by the side. The sound of his flipping the pages was like scratching on Zhang Nuan's nerves, and his heart was beating wildly with every stroke. Zhang Nuan glanced sideways, and Lu Ran happened to turn to the scene where the prince crushed the heroine with a strong kiss. Zhang Nuan really wanted to get into the crack of the ground by himself. It's very strange for a boy to read this kind of comics. If you are interested in comics, you should read One Piece. I beg you. Do you imagine that the hero in the book treats you like this? Lu Ran propped his chin and flipped the book lightly. There was no tone in his voice, but his voice was softer than usual. Under the orange light, everything slowed down, and Zhang Nuan's blood sank inexplicably. Nonsense! I already said this is Cheng Daoda's One Piece, that's my dish. Zhang Nuan immediately defended. If it's in reality, you girls should hate this prince. Lu Ran said. How is that possible? A lot of girls like what he likes so much. Zhang Nuan looked at the book, thinking about how to get it. Do you want to verify it? Lu Ran said. How to verify this? There are no formulas, no laws. Much less like a chemistry experiment. If my statement is verified, you can do the problem well. I don't care if you read comics when you are not doing the problem. Really? Okay. You'd better help me borrow the One Piece from the back. As soon as Zhang Nuan finished speaking, Lu Ran suddenly got up and hugged Zhang Nuan. At the moment of taking off, Zhang Nuan's breathing was stagnant, and the strength of Lu Ran's arm was beyond her imagination. She opened her eyes to look at Lu Ran's King Jun's face, and was thrown on the bed in the next second. Hey! What are you doing? Just as Zhang Nuan was about to prop himself up with his elbows, Lu Ran grabbed her wrist easily, and he was pressed to the top of his head with a slam. His fingers were already strong, and Zhang Nuan was so shocked that he couldn't even speak. Before she lifted her leg and kicked him, Lu Ran's face fell. Zhang Nuan almost didn't scream, but Lu Ran covered her mouth. Look, isn't it annoying to be treated like this by boys? Lu Ran asked. Zhang Nuan looked at him with wide eyes and nodded immediately. At that moment, she realized that Lu Ran had imitated the scene in the comic. In reality, can you still like him? Zhang Nuan's head shook like a rattle. It's more than not like it, it's just a psychological shadow. Lu Ran's hand on Zhang Nuan's mouth was released, his hand clasped her waist, and he took her up easily. Are you reading comics or doing quizzes? Do the question. Zhang Nuan answered very firmly. Lu Ran finally closed the book The Sky is the Bank of the Red River. When he left that day, he took One Piece and left The Sky is a Red River on her table. I really like One Piece. Zhang Nuan looked at Lu Ran's pocket eagerly. I know, so I'll leave The Sky is the Bank of the Red River for you, because you won't watch it again. Not only will I not watch it again, even the only remaining girl's heart is dead. Zhang Nuan really suspected that Lu Ran had a Spartan inclination, but she was able to toss her winter vacation to only eating, sleeping, and studying. Lu Ran, you won't be here tomorrow. Zhang Nuan smiled and approached Lu Ran, who was changing her unit test paper with her head down. He was wearing a brown wool sweater, and because of the wide shoulders and narrow waist, the simpler things tasted better on him. But Zhang Nuan didn't feel any appreciation at all, just wanted to go back to his private space. Have you regained your memory? Lu Ran raised his eyes and looked at her. I don't know why, but there seems to be a kind of expectation brewing in those calm eyes. Recovering what memory? The things you taught me are a bit of an impression, and occasionally I can recall some topics that I seem to have done before. So you plan to teach yourself? Lu Ran lowered his head, and the red pen in his hand swiped all the way across the chemistry paper. No, I want to go to the movies with Cheng Daodu and Rao Kin tomorrow. And then I have to go to Pizza Hut to have a pizza and chat. Isn't it New Year's Eve? I have to go to the mall to buy a new set of clothes, right? Zhang Nuan nodded immediately, yes. 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 That's right. But your route number 2, is there anything to choose from? 2 seconds later, Zhang Nuan was furious. Isn't the square root of 2 equal to 1.414? I'm 1.58 meters. I'll be 1.6 meters soon. Then I still recommend that you balance the chemical equation. The teacher can't understand your exclusive formula. Lu Ran's trimmed fingers tapped on Zhang Nuan's chemical simulation volume. You can't leave me with no entertainment for a winter vacation, can you? Well, I don't have to go to the mall. Anyway, Zhang Nuan is not too obsessed with dressing up. Lu Ran took the pen and began to write on the scratch paper. As soon as he wrote, Zhang Nuan had a headache. Now tell you about the least common multiple rule for balancing chemical equations. I can't listen. I'm done talking to you. You can get all the wrong equations right. If you go out to play tomorrow afternoon, I won't be here. Zhang Nuan's eyes lit up. She can finally go out to relax? She swears that she has never listened to any teacher so seriously in her life, for fear that if she doesn't follow Lu Ran's ideas, she will be finished. The odd number of spouses method, electronic gain and loss method, and undetermined coefficient method that once made Zhang Nuan feel more difficult to understand than heavenly books turned out to be not inscrutable. They seemed to exist in Zhang Nuan's brain, but they all came to the surface after being gently tapped by Lu Ran. Zhang Nuan turned his face to the side to see Lu Ran's focused expression. His beautiful lips opened and closed, and he read various chemical terms. How could the high school in his memory sit next to her? The tip of Lu Ran's pen stopped. He didn't turn his face sideways, his voice was low, but there was a slight smile on the corner of his mouth. What are you doing so close to me? Inexplicably remembering the picture of Lu Ran imitating the cartoon that day, Zhang Nuan immediately pulled away and straightened his back. You don't have eyes on the back of your head, how do you know that I'm close to you? Lu Ran turned his face sideways, exposing his neck, and tapped his fingers lightly, meaning that Zhang Nuan's breath was sprayed there when he approached. His eye sockets are deep, and the outline of his eyes is very detailed. At first glance, his eyes seem to have no warmth, but the longer he looks, the more he will find that there are many things that are incomprehensible and cannot be easily expressed. Zhang Nuan immediately remembered the well-known gossip of the high school affiliated to Normal University. It seemed that she was going to spend the whole winter vacation with Lu Ran, so she had to talk about it, otherwise the atmosphere would be too indigestible. That I heard. I got closer to you last semester. That's it. Zhang Nuan licked her lower lip. She had always been unable to hold back her words, and it was not easy to hold back for so long in front of Lu Ran. So I'm sorry to tell you. I won't bother you so much in the future. I also know that if a good student like you has something to say to the teacher, you must be embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed because my grades have never been affected. What Lu Ran said was calm, but Zhang Nuan was blocked. He said in a slow but pointed voice, do you think? Is it possible that I wanted to be influenced by you? Nonsense. How is that possible? I have temporary amnesia, not paranoia. Lu Ran's tone was either to make fun of her or to slap her, so he quickly drew a line. I am very grateful for your support last semester. Thank you for your support. My life-saving grace. From now on, I, Zhang Nuan, will definitely work hard and study hard, and I will not do anything to make other students misunderstand. Zhang Nuan put on a posture of swearing to the sky. Lu Ran looked at her and spoke calmly after 2 seconds. Do you know Chen Shimei? The author has something to say, Zhang Nuan, Jie Zhou said you are my Yalmei. So what am I in your heart? Lu Ran, you are my Chen Shimei. Zhang Nuan, hey? Lu Ran, think to yourself. You know, a heartless man. His wife takes care of his parents, and he abandons the scum when he is admitted to the top spot. What does Chen Shimei do so well? I also know how to pronounce the word sloppy chaff. Write your papers quickly. Lu Ran, aren't you staring at me like this just to make my dad happy? Otherwise, let's change things up. If you come to be my dad's son, he must be in a good mood every day and smile until he can't stop laughing. My dad won't want you. Or will you be my daughter? Lu Ran held his chin and looked at Zhang Nuan sideways. Pooh! When Lu Ran left Zhang Nuan's room, Zhang Nuan bowed his head and was excited that the jailer was finally leaving. Who knew her neck was slightly pinched? I really want to give you a guillotine. What? After Lu Ran left, Zhang Nuan remembered that Chen Shimei had been looked at by a dog's head. On the afternoon of the next day, Zhang Nuan met Cheng Daodu and Rao Qian at the entrance of the cinema as he wished. Ha ha ha! My dear, what are you wearing? Rao Qian is looking good today, with a woolen coat, jeans and snow boots. He is stylish and slender, not bloated at all. Even Beanie looks so cute. Instead, Zhang Nuan was wearing a camel-colored coat, an old one with a fur ball on the neckline. Oh, don't mention it. Didn't my down jacket fall into the pond and be completely scrapped? I haven't had time to buy a new one. Zhang Nuan tugged at the collar. She was not particular about her clothes. It doesn't matter, the discounts in the mall are so great these days. We will accompany you to buy a new one. Speaking of this, Zhang Nuan twitched the corners of his mouth. Don't mention it, I have to go home and write the chemistry paper tonight. What's the matter? Tomorrow will be New Year's Eve. What papers are you still writing? Because the plugin is too powerful. What plugin? Cheng Daodu asked puzzled. It's Lu Ran. He unexpectedly asked my dad to help me review the basics. I'm catching up with clockwork every day now, and I don't get much sleep for a minute of sleep. Zhang Nuan is sad sighed. Rao Qian smiled. I just said that if anyone else can save you, it's only Lu Ran. Hey, wait. Has Lu Ran's winter vacation homework been done? Can you lend it to us? Little stars lit up in Cheng Daodu's eyes. Do you think Lu Ran is the kind of person who would borrow winter vacation homework for others? Zhang Nuan asked rhetorically. Cheng Daodu shook his head. You can ask Lu Ran all the questions we can't do. If you can, we will. Rao Qian blinked. Oh hey, I got it, I got it. Send me what you can't know at night, okay? Hey, this is our Nuan young master. Rao Qian hugged Zhang Nuan's face and kissed it hard. I'll invite you to the Babylonian buffet for a while. No. Babylon again. That's not a buffet, it's a self-abuse meal. You guys said you wanted to eat Babylon's buffet, so I'll take a morphine first. Some people eat so much nonsense. Rao Qian pressed the back of Zhang Nuan's head fiercely. You don't even count. How much is a pair of KFC's New Orleans grilled wings? 45 Babylonians alone. You only need to eat 8 pairs of grilled wings, and we will earn back our buffet fee. 8 pairs? When did we not get tired of eating the 5th pair? Zhang Nuan spread his hands. Then are you going? Rao Qian pinched her neck. Go. Go. Okay? It hasn't started to jam, don't let me vomit now. Let's talk it out. Don't take so many grilled wings. If you can't eat it, you have to force me to eat it. Oh, isn't that what a boyfriend is for? I'm not your boyfriend. But you are our warm boy. Half a head taller and smaller than Zhang Nuan, Rao Qian leaned on her shoulder very greasy. Although they had agreed to Chapter 3 in advance, when they sat down in Babylon, they naturally fell into an atmosphere of anticipation and competition for roasting wings. Basically, every time the grilled wings came up, the plate would be empty within a minute. The three girls sat there, Cheng Daodu propped up a fork and watched the vacant seat of the grilled wings. Just as the chef in the white top hat brought the grilled wings, Cheng Daodu was the first to rush up. "Hey! Daodu! Don't take too much!" Before Cheng Daodu stood in front of roast wing, he was blocked by two tall boys. Seeing that roast wing was about to be empty again, Rao Qin pushed Zhang Nuan and motioned for her to help Cheng Daodu, not to let her alone people suffer. Zhang Nuan took a breath and rolled up the sleeves on both sides, thinking she was going to fight, but who knew she came behind one of the boys and patted the other on the back. "Hey, brother, your grandpa Mao fell off." "Yes." The two boys who were clipping grilled wings bowed their heads at the same time. Cheng Daodu directly stretched out the plate without even using a clip, and scooped out a plate of chicken wings. Zhang Nuan looked at Daodu, she didn't expect such a divine operation at all. The two boys found that there was no money on the ground, and when they looked up again, most of the chicken wings were gone. "Hey, how are you doing?" One of the boys looked at Zhang Nuan and Cheng Daodu and said. "Ah, what's wrong? First come, first come. Let's come to the chicken wings first, we should serve it first." Babylon bakes a lot of chicken wings every time, but the guests who come to eat know that eating grilled wings is the most cost-effective way, so they all come to serve them. If you move slowly, you may not be able to grab a chicken wing tip. This chicken wing is not a 100 meter race. You have to run to the destination first. If you have it, you will have it. Zhang Nuan shrugged, could it be that you still care about girls? The two boys looked over Zhang Nuan's shoulders and happened to see Rao Qin. Rao Qin smiled and nodded, the one who smiled was an elegant royal sister Fan and the anger of the two boys disappeared immediately. "What's wrong?" A cold voice rang out. So familiar, as if it was the sound of a cello flowing through his mind, Zhang Nuan turned around and saw the slender figure. He was still wearing that simple sweater, the simpler it made him stand out. "Lu Ran? You, came to eat Babylon too?" One of them looked at Lu Ran. "Lu Ran, do you know them?" "Classmates." Another baby-faced one followed, they almost swept the roasted wings clean. "Then let them eat, as long as they have the ability to finish eating." Lu Ran looked at Zhang Nuan with a faint smile on the corner of his mouth again. He turned around and tapped lightly on the wall with his fingers. There is a sign on the wall 5 times the fine for waste. Looking at the brand, Zhang Nuan felt full before he even started eating. When he returned to his position, Cheng Daodu regretted it. "It's over, those two boys and Lu Ran are together. We scooped up the chicken wings, will Lu Ran be angry with us and stop teaching Xiaonuan?" "Don't worry, he won't. If my dad is worried about whether I can continue to study in the second year of high school, Lu Ran will be even more uncomfortable. In the whole Nanxi, he can't find a better coach than my dad." Having said that, Zhang Nuan's heart uncontrollably focused on the table behind him. The sound of their chatting, the crisp sound of their knife and fork touching the plate, and the sound of their clinking glasses all hit Zhang Nuan's nerves. Su Zishan leaned in front of Lu Ran and whispered, "Lu Ran, those 3 girls are all from the middle school attached to your normal university? They're very bold. If they can eat so much, who can afford them in the future? It's difficult for you to raise yourself." Lu Ran didn't even raise his eyes. "What's the name of that girl with long hair?" Mu Sheng looked in Rao Can's direction from time to time. "Ask yourself. What about that one? The one who used a plate to scoop chicken wings." Su Zishan stared at Cheng Daodu unabashedly. Cheng Daodu lowered his head and looked a little pitiful. "Didn't you hear our head Lu say ask yourself?" Mu Sheng smiled, as if he really wanted to get up. Mu Sheng was about to approach him when Lu Ran suddenly dropped a sentence. Coach Jiang's daughter is there. What? You mean? Our grandfather's daughter is also there? Which one? Su Zishan immediately turned to look at them. Don't stare at others like that, you lose your share. Mu Sheng tapped Su Zishan on the head. Let me guess, the daughter of the patriarch must have the temperament of a fairy sister, she must be the girl with long hair. But I think it should be the one with the chicken wings and the round face. At this time, Rao Kan had already used a plate to divide Cheng Daodu's chicken wings in half, and got up to bring them to Lu Ran. Okay, Daodu, don't be so sad. You two made a mistake, and I will go to the public relations to make up for it. Lu Ran won't be angry with you, isn't it just roasting wings? Rao Kan came to Lu Ran's table with roasted wings. Mu Sheng immediately stood up, and even Su Zishan stood up, only Lu Ran was still sitting there. I'm sorry just now, we Daodu love grilled wings very much, but every time we come here, we can't rob others. This time, I was a little excited when I saw the grilled wings that just came out of the oven. I knew that everyone was my own, so why would I need to grab it? Rao Kan's words "my own person" made Mu Sheng immediately happy. Thank you, junior sister. As soon as Mu Sheng took the plate, Rao Kan couldn't help laughing. Junior sister? When did I become a junior sister? You just said one of your own, aren't you Coach Jiang's daughter? Me? Rao Kan was stunned for a moment, and then he reacted immediately. You learned fencing with Coach Jiang, right? I'm Rao Kan, that's Cheng Daodu. As for your junior sister. Ah, she's Coach Jiang's daughter. Although Zhang Nuan didn't pass, they could hear their conversation clearly, including the disappointment in Mu Sheng's voice. Since they were all her father's disciples, she had nothing to be ashamed of. She turned her head and gestured to wipe her neck. Su Zishan scratched his head and said, looking at it this way, it really looks like Coach Jiang. Where is it like? The fierce look is quite similar. Mu Sheng laughed following Su Zishan's words, and by the way, he pushed Lu Ran with his elbow and said, Master Lu, is our junior sister who has inherited the fine tradition of the ancestors and is fierce every day. There are always silly cats who think they are tigers. Lu Ran said lightly, and Mu Sheng and Su Zishan laughed along with them. The author has something to say. Zhang Nuan, who do you call a silly cat? Lu Ran, whoever is talking to me now is a silly cat. Zhang Nuan, you are naive or not? Lu Ran, silly cats usually show their teeth and claws, and they are captured by a tiger in one fell swoop. Zhang Nuan, I'm too lazy to care about you. Would you like us to sit and eat together? Mu Sheng asked Rao Kan. No need. Our girls can't get in on the topics you guys are talking about. Rao Kan glanced at Lu Ran. She knew in her heart that if they had dinner together, Zhang Nuan would definitely be uncomfortable. Rao Kan returned to Zhang Nuan and Cheng Daodu's side, and said, Isn't this solved? I calculated it, there are still 9 pairs of chicken wings left, 3 pairs for one person, is there enough to eat? But you can't get back the buffet fee. Cheng Daodu said regretfully. Drink more yogurt. Yogurt costs a few dollars a box. Rao Kan said with a smile. Cheng Daodu is a typical child with big eyes and small belly, and took a lot of pizza and cakes. This takes up so much belly. Zhang Nuan looked at them, her scalp tingling. In order not to be fined for waste, she desperately stuffed it into her stomach, and the initiator Cheng Daodu had already died. She was lying on the table, but there was still a whole plate of cake in front of her. You said you could have some sponge cake. This chocolate cake is really solid. Zhang Nuan felt the food pouring into his throat as he spoke. On the contrary, Rao Kan started to organize the dishes. Fairy, what are you doing? Clear the line with this fool Cheng Daodu. Let's leave her alone, and we'll clear her up later. Cheng Daodu held Rao Kan pitifully, don't abandon me. After speaking, Cheng Daodu covered his mouth and rushed out, running into the bathroom. Su Zishan and Mu Sheng at the table next to them were already laughing sullenly. Zhang Nuan looked at the food on the plate in front of him, and his stomach was turning over. Rao Qin sighed and said, "Don't hold on, let's go together. If you don't go, you will eat it for nothing. If you don't vomit, you're really an idiot." After holding on for less than 10 seconds, Zhang Nuan couldn't hold it anymore, and rushed into the bathroom at once. There are only 2 places in the bathroom, one of which is occupied and the other is occupied by Cheng Daodu. Standing outside the cubicle, hearing Cheng Daodu's vomiting sound was like torture to Zhang Nuan. Up again, down again, up again, down again. No, no, no. No matter what, Zhang Nuan rushed into the men's bathroom on the opposite side, and there was someone in it. Zhang Nuan could only raise his hand to cover his eyes, indicating that she didn't want to look at anything. It was completely helpless to rush in. She opened the compartment, and the moment she squatted down, she vomited a rush of water, and her stomach felt relieved immediately. She exhaled and heard Lu Ran's cold voice from outside the compartment. "I'm sorry, there's a girl inside. When she comes out, it's more convenient for you." Zhang Nuan's face immediately flushed red. It was none other than Lu Ran who was standing there just now. How so? Even if she didn't see anything, she didn't have the face to go out now. Zhang Nuan squatted motionless in the compartment, waiting for Lu Ran to go out. "Eh? Why didn't you hear footsteps? It felt like I was about to go to sleep, and I heard the person on the roof take off one shoe and throw it down, and I didn't hear the sound of the other shoe landing for a long time." Zhang Nuan was almost squatting there and counting sheep, but who knew that the footsteps finally sounded behind her, and it was Lu Ran who walked behind her. He took a step up and stood beside Zhang Nuan. Zhang Nuan was a little ashamed, afraid that the other party would spit it out after seeing it, but who knew that Lu Ran broadcast to her in a very calm tone. "You spit out a tawny and black sticky substance, which is conservatively estimated to be a mixture of muffins and chocolate cake. The red spots floating around should be the earliest New Orleans grilled wings that were eaten, blending with the cyan mixture in a swirl shape. I guess it's a rustic pizza." Zhang Nuan didn't want to watch it at first, but just listening to Lu Ran's words, vivid images emerged in his mind, and he vomited sour water. On the contrary, Lu Ran remained calm. When Zhang Nuan lowered his head and panted for breath, he pulled a tissue and handed it to her, and pressed the flush button with the other. Zhang Nuan stood up abruptly, not daring to look at Lu Ran at all, squeezed out of the gap between him and the bathroom, and brushed his shoulders gently by his side. Zhang Nuan only felt that his clothes were about to burn. When she walked back, she saw Mu Sheng and Su Zishan leaning forward and backward laughing. "Junior sister. Sure enough, women are not allowed to be men. It seems that the grilled wings that Rao Qin sent to them is not enough, they can't even stop their mouths. Now we have freed up space to destroy all these cakes," Rao Qin said with a smile. Zhang Nuan suddenly felt like vomiting again. Cheng Daodu also came back, and she said very seriously, "I think, in this way, we can eat several rounds of buffets. This is suitable for you and Xiao Nuan, I'll have enough for one round." After this self-abuse meal, Zhang Nuan didn't want to take the bus to go home at all, and listening to the radio seemed to be blocked in the square. She had to spit it out as she swayed. The 3 girls walked on the road holding hands in tacit understanding. "I heard that a new self-service hot pot has opened on Zhoushan Road. Let's go eat together," Cheng Daodu said excitedly. As soon as he heard the word self-help, Zhang Nuan had a headache. Behind them came the chatter and laughter of boys. "Ayo! Don't you want to take the car home after the buffet? Would you like us to send you a ride?" Mu Sheng smiled and parked his bicycle beside Rao Qin. Zhang Nuan snorted softly, "I can see that you are flirting with our family, and your intentions are wrong. Haha, junior sister has good eyesight, give senior brother a chance." "No. Also, who are you brothers and sisters? Did my dad accept you as a disciple? If his father gave some random pointers, the cat and the dog could be her senior brother Zhang Nuan, and there would be senior brothers everywhere, and she would lose her life. Who knows? Lu Ran also stopped beside them, raised his chin slightly at Zhang Nuan, and felt a little lonely under the cool street lamp light. Why? Zhang Nuan was still standing there. Take you back and finish the physics paper quickly. The first half of the sentence "take you back" made Zhang Nuan's little heart miss a beat. After all, even if Zhang Nuan didn't have a girlish heart, he still had vanity, and it would be a lot of face to be given a ride by Lu Ran. But the second half of the sentence, study, 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 and for the sake of study. In Zhang Nuan's heart, Lu Ran asked her to study hard so as not to cause trouble for her father, so that Lu Ran could have a good coach who devotes himself to the club and achieve good results in the club league. Enter the national youth team. I'm too heavy to burst your bike tires. After speaking, Zhang Nuan turned around and continued to walk forward. But what she didn't expect was that Rao Qian actually sat on the back rack of Mu Sheng's bicycle. What made Zhang Nuan's eyes fall even more was that Su Zishan also said to Cheng Daodu shyly, "Then let me take you." Zhang Nuan thought that Daodu would ask for her opinion at some point, but she sat up without looking back, and said sweetly, "Thank you, then please slow down." Seeing them drive past him, Zhang Nuan was really angry. "Cheng Daodu, you blushed. These two are rude. It's just a boy's bicycle, and let their friendship puppy die." Zhang Ruan walked forward with his pockets bulging, and Lu Ran's bicycle was at the back, as if saying, "I'll give you one last chance to sit up." Forget it, a hero does not suffer from immediate losses. Zhang Nuan trotted to the back of Lu Ran's bicycle. Who knew that before jumping on it, Lu Ran suddenly accelerated and rode to the front. Zhang Nuan stared at each other with round eyes. "Why didn't you wait for me to ride so slowly?" Mu Sheng turned back sympathetically and said, "That's how the head of Lu is. If you are ruthless, I will quit. I gave it to you the first time, but you don't want it." "First time? What the is the first time? Don't talk nonsense about my reputation. I ate too much, go back by myself." Zhang Nuan's ears were about to burn. What a nonsense first time! Zhang Nuan walked an entire street and passed by Conca's franchised store. The TV in the window was playing the video of the National Collegiate Fencing League team competition. Zhang Nuan was immediately attracted and stood there watching intently. The screen shows that it is a team match between Haichuan University and B. Zhang Nuan's eyes lit up. Jianming is a big B. The narrator is broadcasting, "Now it is Chen Zhe of Haichuan University who is concise to B University." I saw on the screen that both sides attacked each other almost at the same time, but Jianming blocked the opponent's sword and directly pressed the sword to fight back to score. Resolutely neat. Zhang Nuan couldn't look away. "Your face is almost against the glass." Just like the sound of an old cello, Zhang Nuan's heart seemed to be moved. As soon as she turned around, she saw Lu Ran touching the ground with one foot, holding a bicycle under the street lamp, an isolated figure that others had already ridden far. Could this guy come back to find her? It is estimated that she is afraid that her father's knowledge will affect his image of integrity and sensible. Zhang Nuan snorted and continued to watch the recording of the game. It happened to be succinctly chasing the opponent, with continuous and smooth steps under his feet, suppressing the opponent to retreat step by step, and the moment he hit the opponent's shoulder, the strength and angle were perfect. "Okay." Zhang Nuan clenched his fists and cheered. Then came a kind of envy. "Do you like simplicity?" Lu Ran's cold voice sounded again. "Like it? Because he can beat you." The most exciting part of the game was the moment when a simple long lunge hit the opponent's shoulder with a side split. Zhang Nuan's wrist was clasped, and suddenly she pulled her shoulders into someone's arms. When she looked up, she saw Lu Ran's dark eyes. "Gone back? I haven't seen the results yet. Wouldn't it be heart-wrenching to just go home like this?" Ocean University won the B Big Four swords. Impossible, B is so concise, how could he still lose to Haichuan? This is a team competition. It's not enough for one person to turn the tide. Are you sure you want to stay here and watch B lose? Lu Ran's tone was just stating objective facts. Zhang Nuan opened his mouth and got on Lu Ran's bicycle extremely reluctantly, hard and awkward, unhappy. When she got home, Zhang Nuan went to take a hot bath, and the warm water vapor made her limbs feel comfortable. Who knew that as soon as she went out, she heard her mother say, "Ayo! Xiao Nuan, you've been washing for so long, and you thought you'd never come out for the rest of your life. Lu Ran is waiting for you." "What? Why is he still here?" Zhang Nuan grimaced, pushed the door of her bedroom, and saw Lu Ran sitting at her desk, resting her chin with one hand, and turning over the copy of Pirate Luffy in front of her. Small plate of fruit. There are few fruits in winter, and her mother even cut out patterns for him. The feeling of depression that he was not his own father and mother came back to his mind. Write down the physics paper. This chapter is the key point. I'll keep you the time. Lu Ran raised his wrist and glanced at his sports watch. I'm going to blow my head. Zhang Nuan sat on the edge of the bed, cross-legged, deliberately killing time slowly. While blowing her head, she couldn't help but glance at Lu Ran. In fact, in her heart, if Lu Ran reads books, he should read some very deep things, discuss the philosophy of life, and raise the level of thinking. But he actually studied Pirate Luffy like watching the Olympiad. Looking at his indifferent profile, Zhang Nuan wanted to do something wrong. She suddenly straightened up and stretched her legs, and stepped on the cartoon with her feet. She didn't see how Lu Ran made his move, and instantly grabbed her ankle. "Is this your unique secret technique, turning over a book with your feet?" It was the hand holding the sword, and the strength of the fingers was a bit strong. Zhang Nuan wanted to retract his foot, but was pinched by Lu Ran effortlessly, and the whole posture became comical. Lu Ran directly put Zhang Nuan's feet off the table. She thought he would let go, but who knew that this guy pulled forward and put her feet on his lap. Like a martial arts film, Zhang He warmed one leg on the bed, and stepped away with one foot. Lu Ran put it on his leg, swaying, and couldn't stand it any longer. "Oops! Oops! Just let go! My tendons! My tendons! Your tendons are fine. Are you still doing something bad?" Lu Ran asked her, turning his face to the side. Zhang Nuan immediately shook his head. "No. No. I'll do the quiz. I'll study hard." Only then did Lu Ran let go, and Zhang Nuan lay in front of the desk with tears in her eyes. "If you can pass the test after school starts, prove to Coach Zhang that even if you devote part of your energy to something you like, your study will not be affected. At least you have a reason for him to sign your registration form," Lu Ran said. Zhang Nuan's mouth was crooked. He knew too well how persistent his father was. If he was persistent to a certain extent, he was stubborn. "Even if I could go on to my second year of high school, he wouldn't sign it for me. I'll help you talk to him." Zhang Nuan turned her face to look at Lu Ran, always wondering if she had heard it wrong. "You mean, you're going to tell me? You may not pass the trials anyway." The good feelings that had just ignited were extinguished again. "I'm telling you, I'm amazing. Do you know what is really powerful?" Lu Ran's eyes had a kind of indifference, this kind of indifference in Zhang Nuan's eyes that was properly the contempt of the king. "Oh, what is really powerful?" Zhang Nuan looked very serious, but he was pouting in his heart. "Get up at 5 a.m. every morning to run for half an hour, followed by an hour of basic exercises, brushing your teeth and washing your face and going to school. Then every Tuesday, Thursday, from 8 to 10 p.m., and Saturday, all-day confrontation training. You are the life of an ascetic. Life is too short to have fun, brother." Although Zhang Nuan admired him, he didn't want to make his life like that at all. Seems focused, strict, disciplined, but not happy at all. But even if you try your best, you can't keep up with the forgotten speed. Zhang Nuan laughed out loud, no way. You were the U16 men's saber champion of the National Youth Sports Club League last year. You are always in the top 10 of the middle school affiliated to Normal University. How else do you want to be remembered? Is it possible that I have to raise money for you and build a monument? Zhang Nuan, if you like someone one day and do it again, will you still like the same person? Lu Ran asked her in a very light tone. It's like asking her if you would remember to bring an umbrella today if you heard the weather forecast yesterday. This kind of question is more suitable for rainy days, but not with your style. Zhang Nuan shook his finger. Because Lu Ran is not the sentimental type at all. Once someone like him has set a goal, he's so focused on driving other people crazy. Why? Because you are persistent, arrogant, and defiant. Zhang Nuan turned her face sideways. She said this because she didn't understand how she once liked Lu Ran. If I can't let go of someone, I have to look back for her persistently. I can only bow my head for her if I'm arrogant. If I don't have anyone, I can only break myself and let her in. Lu Ran's voice was still so calm. But in Zhang Nuan's view, it looks like a paranoid. Giving up everything for a person is not something that a rational person like Lu Ran would do. But to give up everything for one person, only someone as persistent as Lu Ran can do it. Then remember to tell me when the time comes. For the sake of making up lessons for me during the winter vacation, I will try my best to grow taller and rely on you when you cry. Do the papers now. Unless you don't want Coach Zhang to sign your application form. This was her weakness, and she was pinched at once. So annoying. I thought I could chat with you normally. She didn't say anything more, she spread out the paper, and looked at each question carefully. From the beginning of the resistance to every word on the paper, to hearing Lu Ran's steady breathing, Zhang Nuan's mood also condensed. When Zhang Nuan was halfway through the last question, he heard Lu Ran's voice ringing in the ear. Time up! Zhang Nuan stopped writing, and Lu Ran took her paper and changed it from beginning to end. The accuracy rate was higher than she thought. Lu Ran returned the paper to her, so far the thinking on the last question is correct. Let's see how far you can do it. Just as Zhang Nuan lowered her head, Lu Ran's hand reached out and gently pressed it on top of her head. At that moment, Zhang Nuan's shoulders almost shrugged. The temperature of his palm, and even how his fingertips were embedded in his hair, became delicate. Zhang Nuan turned her face to look at Lu Ran, and found that Lu Ran was resting his chin with the other hand, looking at the comic book, and the movement of touching her head was just incidentally. Do the question! Do the question! Do the question! Zhang Nuan waved Lu Ran's hand away unhappily. Everything was quiet again. The last question is a comprehensive question, and it also combines a lot of previous knowledge points. The further down, Zhang Nuan's brain is a little messy, and the mountains and rivers are exhausted at the back. Seeing the shadow of the lamp on the table, Lu Ran seemed to be looking at her with his chin up. It's out of the question. Zhang Nuan turned his face to the side, and found that Lu Ran's eyes were on the comic book he spread on the table, although it seemed that he hadn't turned the page for a long time. Can we go on? Lu Ran's voice was lighter than usual, as if he was afraid of waking up, but his eyes were still down, and he slowly turned the comic book to a page. I can't. Zhang Nuan shook his head. Lu Ran took the scratch paper and wrote it down smoothly, as if he had expected Zhang Nuan's final problem. ABU equals ACU equals MGR/2Q equals. Zhang Nuan looked at it with his head close, and suddenly realized. Don't be too dead. In his always cold voice, Zhang Nuan felt a softness for some reason. Lu Ran helped Zhang Nuan to analyze the single choice and multiple choice missed before. Zhang Nuan felt that his mind had never been so fresh. At this time, Zhang Nuan's mother called out, Ouch, what's going on with this faucet? Lu Ran got up and tapped on the scratch paper with his slender fingers. I'll take a look. Go through this question again. Oh. Got it. Zhang Nuan lay down. As soon as Lu Ran left, Zhang Nuan began to get distracted. After a while, he went to read the comic, and worried that with Lu Ran's almost obsessive-compulsive memory, he would clearly remember which page of the comic book was turned, and at what angle. On the desk, so he took his hand back. She stood up, stretched a few times in her room, moved her muscles and bones, and then saw a row of horizontal lines on the wooden door. This is the trace she left behind from elementary school to high school. Zhang Nuan lowered her head and looked at her school pants, which were a little shorter, and excitedly took a Xinhua dictionary from the bookshelf, put it on her head, and drew a line on the door. At this moment, the door was suddenly twisted open, and the dictionary on top of Zhang Nuan's head also fell down, making a clattering sound. Lu Ran stood at the door with his head lowered. What about the height? Lu Ran's cuff was pulled over his forearm, revealing his neat forearm line. He bent down and picked up the dictionary. Zhang Nuan was stunned. How did Lu Ran know she was measuring her height as soon as she saw the dictionary? Lu Ran held the dictionary, closed the door, turned his face and glanced at the horizontal line on the door. Zhang Nuan was still thinking about how she would explain that she didn't read the last question carefully, and was still carrying a dictionary in the room. He was about to approach her again. Zhang Nuan couldn't help but look at the corner of his lips, to observe the slyness in his eyes, as if he could catch Lu Ran and become a bad boy. If you're either trying to measure your height, you're lying behind the door and trying to hit me with a dictionary. I'm tall. To ambush you, I don't even need a dictionary. What an incomprehensible hatred. Lu Ran's hand reached out and gently tapped Zhang Nuan's head. Go to the door. Isn't it? I'm just taking a dictionary to measure my height. You want me to think about it? I'll measure it for you. Zhang Nuan was stunned. Lu Ran said that he wanted to measure her height? Will he be so good? Is there a conspiracy? Can you measure it? It doesn't count. Is it really too much? His expression was like the one that proved to her that night that the male protagonist of The Sky is the Bank of the Red River would not be liked by girls in reality. It doesn't count. Maybe you're going to laugh at my route number 2 again. It looked like you've grown a little taller, but you don't want to measure it so much. I guess it's because you measured it just now and found that you haven't grown. Just as Lu Ran put the dictionary on the desk, Zhang Nuan immediately said, measure. I'm furious. How could I not grow taller? Zhang Nuan turned around, straightened his back, and pressed against the door. She must firmly prove that she has grown taller. Lu Ran came over with the dictionary, and as he got closer, Zhang Nuan became nervous for no reason. Just measure your height, you don't have to be so strict. Lu Ran raised his hand and gently placed the dictionary on top of Zhang Nuan's head. At that moment, Zhang Nuan realized that Lu Ran was very tall and his shoulders were wide. When his hand was raised to the top of her head, it was like a tidal wave that swept in and embraced the world. In the air, there is the smell of Lu Ran in the nose, a very light and refreshing breath. His face turned to the side, with a sense of mystery in the shadow of the backlight, as if repressed and brewing, but he was hesitant to say anything, which made people scratch their lungs. His eyelashes are really beautiful, like transparent butterfly wings fluttering. Zhang Nuan didn't even notice that he was looking at each other. His eyes were very focused, causing Zhang Nuan's mind to have some kind of inexplicable imagination, as if his height had become an exercise for him to keep thinking about. There was a rustling sound of pencil drawing on the door from above her head. As if engraved in her heart. Okay. Lu Ran said softly. I don't know why, but Lu Ran's voice was very soft tonight, as if he regretted that Zhang Nuan almost jumped on the back seat of his bicycle and he walked away. Zhang Nuan didn't dare to look into Lu Ran's eyes. She reached out to lift the dictionary, but Lu Ran's hand that was holding the dictionary was released, and without warning, it was lightly supported by her ear, and the fingertips gently knock on the door with a rhythmic bang 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 sound. Do you think you've grown taller? Zhang Nuan, who was about to move away from Lu Ran's side, stuck to the door even more nervously. Don't look nervous. Don't let Lu Ran know you're nervous. I must have grown taller. Zhang Nuan raised her chin and said. That's a little bit. Lu Ran withdrew the hand that had been pressing on Zhang Nuan's ear, and made a small distance in front of her eyes. You lied to me. This is only 1 centimeter. I must have grown more than 1 centimeter. Otherwise, the trousers of the school uniform will not be short. Zhang Nuan immediately turned around, looked at the door panel, and found that the distance between the two lines was obviously almost 4 or 5 centimeters. She turned back unhappily. Hey! There are so many. Who knew that Lu Ran suddenly approached her? His always restrained eyes were so clear that Zhang Nuan could clearly see his appearance. Yet, if you don't grow taller, I'll be hunchbacked. What's wrong with your hunchback? Zhang Nuan tilted his head back subconsciously. The way Lu Ran turned his face sideways made the tip of his nose even more handsome and straight, and Zhang Nuan's ears were hot for no reason. Because you have to bow your head to talk to you. Otherwise you won't hear. You can't hear me. I really want to hit him with a dictionary. At this time, there was a faint sound of opening the door, and it was Zhang Nuan's father who had returned. Zhang Nuan, who wanted to continue fighting with Lu Ran, suddenly thought of something. Hurry up, pack up the comic books. My dad will think I brought you down and let you read the comics too. Zhang Nuan took the comic back from Lu Ran, and was about to throw it into the drawer, but Lu Ran grabbed it. I don't think reading comics is called getting bad. But Zhang Nuan still stuffed it into the drawer. What's the matter? Do you think the comics are pretty cool too? I don't think so. There is too much chicken soup in this one piece, which is easy to make people unrealistic. For example, this Luffy can never die. Then you read that book for so long. I want to understand your thinking, why you like to watch this kind of thing. Oh, so have you concluded it? It's been summed up a long time ago. Lu Ran went out the door, stopped and said, Kindergarten child. Zhang Nuan was too lazy to be angry with him. Then you are the principal of the kindergarten now, and the children hate you. But in my kindergarten, you will probably always be the only one. Lu Ran reached out to press Zhang Nuan's head, but she avoided her. Zhang Nuan is very unhappy. Who is Lu Ran? Is she the most naive person he has ever met? Coach Zhang, I'm going home. Lu Ran said to Zhang Huai, who had just entered the door. Ouch! Lu Ran. Thank you. Don't worry about Xianyuan, don't rush back, sit down for a while, your Aunt Luo is cooking noodle soup, eat a little before you go. Lu Ran nodded. Anyway, in front of Zhang Nuan's father, Lu Ran looked like he knew the book and respected the flawless elders. Zhang Nuan's eyes were sharp, and all of a sudden he saw the package Zhang Huai had thrown on the sofa. Dad, what is this? It was sent from the imperial capital. Isn't it delicious? I know it's delicious every day. It's sent by Concise, you can take it apart and take a look. The author has something to say, Zhang Nuan, it's none of my business that you hunchback. Lu Ran, actually, the correct answer is that when I kiss you, I will be reluctant to leave. If you don't always grow taller, I will definitely hunch your back. Speaking of conciseness, Zhang Huai's face was filled with pride that could not be concealed. And this name made Zhang Nuan's heart skip a beat. Although she has always heard of Jianming, and she often sees Jianming in the videos and broadcasts of college fencing leagues and national youth fencing championships, but almost all of Jianming she saw when she was a child was wearing a fencing mask. Zhang Nuan also, I haven't talked to him much, I just remember that he gave himself a Ferrero. Jianming has been learning fencing with Zhang Huai since he was 6 years old. When he was 12 years old, his parents were transferred to the imperial capital, and he also left. But it is said that as long as he is free during the winter and summer vacations, Jianming will return to Zhang Huai's club and ask Zhang Huai for advice. It is estimated that I asked him to help you get a mock test paper. Zhang Nuan was still a little excited, and the mood that was bubbling with small bubbles was instantly shattered. What's the best way to send a mock test paper from the imperial capital? The difficulty factor of our test paper is more suitable. But even if it's a mock test paper, it's a mock test paper sent in a concise manner. Let's take a look. Zhang Nuan carefully removed the outer packaging, revealing the blue and white plaid down jacket. Hey, what's a down jacket? Zhang Nuan spread out the clothes. Obviously it could not be for her mother Luo Chen. Zhang Huai smiled. Didn't your down jacket get wet in the pond last time? Originally, your mother wanted to use a radiator to dry it for you, but who knew that the inner lining was burnt even if it didn't dry successfully? I live in the hospital, so I didn't go out to buy a new one. After listening to what I mentioned, Jianming chose a style from there and gave it to you. I originally wanted him to send you a mock-up volume, but Jianming said that this would make the little boy on New Year is unhappy, but I still want to buy you something that makes you happy. Really? Zhang Nuan immediately took off the antique-grade woolen coat and put the down jacket on. Mom Luo Chen came out and smiled immediately. This is sent from Jianming? The taste of young guys is just different from ours. I feel that Xianyuan really has a girlish taste all of a sudden. I was originally a girl, okay. Lu Ran sat on the sofa and glanced at Zhang Nuan lightly. Zhang Huai got up and went to help Zhang Nuan's mother serve the noodles, and only Lu Ran and Zhang Nuan were left in the living room. As soon as Zhang Nuan looked up, he found Lu Ran looking at him, and immediately remembered that when he was wearing a school uniform before, Lu Ran said that the mirror is cracked, came to him, raised his eyebrows and said, "How is it? It looks good, right? The mirror won't crack this time, will it?" Lu Ran stood up slowly, lowered his head, and his finger lightly tapped on the tip of Zhang Nuan's nose. Zhang Nuan was about to speak when Lu Ran suddenly leaned forward again, causing Zhang Nuan to take a step back. "Why are you so afraid of me?" His voice was soft and long. Zhang Nuan didn't speak, but she always felt that Lu Ran would bite her nose. Ghost scared. Before he had finished speaking, Lu Ran approached again, and there was something very serious in his eyes, as if he wanted to rap Zhang Nuan. Suddenly, the other party blew a sigh of relief and lifted Zhang Nuan's hair, exposing his forehead, and Lu Ran's fingers flicked like that. "When you don't wear this down jacket, it looks good when you pick your booger." Before Zhang Nuan could react, Lu Ran got up with his pockets in his pocket and said to Luo Chen, who walked out of the kitchen with a bowl, "Auntie, I still don't eat noodles. I'm too full to eat the buffet at night, and I can't eat it." "Oh, it's okay. Go back to bed early, tomorrow will be 30 years old. Well, when my parents come back in the second day of junior high, we'll come to give you New Year's greetings together. It is good." Zhang Nuan felt very good when she thought that she would not have to see Lu Ran from tomorrow until the second day of the new year, and that no one would stare at her to do her homework. When Lu Ran was gone, Zhang Nuan continued to stand in front of the mirror and look stinky, but when everything was quiet, she couldn't help but think of the moment when Lu Ran flicked her forehead. Zhang Huai said in a low voice, "What happened to Lu Ran? I just said that he was fine when he came down to eat noodles. I think he was a little unhappy when he left." Luo Chen picked up his daughter's ear and said, "Did you make Lu Ran angry because you didn't do the question properly?" "I don't have the ability to make him angry. And whether he is angry or not is an expression. And he bullied me when you were away, when did you manage?" After brushing his teeth and washing his face, Zhang Nuan got on the bed with his legs crossed, and called Master Rao Kangxing to ask his guilt. "You said, what happened after the buffet today? Why don't you say hello, just get on that Mu Sheng's bicycle." I thought you actually wanted to ride Lu Ran's bike, but I was too embarrassed to leave me in Daudu, so I got on it. Who knows? Who knew that she never rode Lu Ran's bicycle in the end? Really, just think about it. Listen to me, I'm also the master of the heavenly palace by stepping on Hot Wheels. How can I see Lu Ran's bicycle? Yes. My warm boy is the best. Let's talk, why can't you do your homework during the winter vacation? I'll mark it and ask Lu Ran after the new year. Haha, look, don't we still have to rely on Lu Ran? After Rao Kin reported the page number and title to Zhang Nuan gave a long What's wrong? No. I seem to be able to do some of what you said. Zhang Nuan told Rao Kin the questions he knew. Look, this question F1 equals KR, F2 equals QE, then F1 equals F2, then QE equals KQQR, remove Q, E equals KQR. Ouch! Xiaonuan, you're really good. Your brain wasn't so bright before. I'll pretend you're complimenting me. Besides, this question is really not difficult. Look at me reluctantly staying in the science class to accompany you, so don't show off your IQ in front of me. Rao Kin said with a smile. Okay, I'll try to lower my IQ to communicate with you. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Nuan suddenly thought of something, rushed in front of his mother, and gestured with his fingers with a smile and said, Mom, I've grown so much. Really? Luo Chen smiled, it seems that you are drawing a note. Before it was worth it, Lu Ran came to our house with milk every week. What? Lu Ran brought milk to our house. Yes. That's also, honoring my father. Lu Ran almost didn't even offer up to her father. Honor your father? Give your father calcium milk for teenage growth. Luo Chen laughed. Zhang Nuan was stunned there, and pointed to himself for a long time, really gave it to me? Isn't that what my father asked him to give it to me? You really grew taller for a while last semester, and I didn't pay attention to make up for it. One night when you were sleeping, your calf cramped, and you curled up in the quilt and hummed in pain. It was your father who gave you a massage. The next day I wanted to take a taxi to take you to school, but I ran into Lu Ran downstairs, and he took you to the school on a bicycle. That night, they came with milk and asked you in the elevator if you had any cramps. This is not something Lu Ran would do at all. Zhang Nuan tilted his head and murmured, why do I seem so unconscionable? If you have a conscience, I will burn high incense to thank the ancestors. Mom, our ancestors are sleeping, don't disturb them. From the beginning of the New Year's Eve, Zhang Nuan had put 3 pillows on his head, but he still couldn't get a good night's sleep. Dazed, she found herself standing on a chair with a dictionary in her hand, resting on someone's head, and carefully drawing lines with a pencil. I have to remember, you won't grow again next month, will you? I will wait for you. Long man, you can still wait for me. There was a burst of firecrackers in the corridor, and the crackling almost knocked Zhang Nuan to the ground. She sat up and pounded her head. She seemed to have had a dream just now. What did she dream about? Oops! She's going to the bathroom. Zhang Nuan got out of bed and searched for slippers for a long time. When she came to the door, the moment she raised her head, she saw a horizontal line drawn by a pencil 15 or 6 centimeters above her head. She raised her hand and touched it. Is it just her drawing? Why so high? Oops! Go to the bathroom now. The 30th year and the first year of the new year were spent with grandparents and grandparents respectively. She was wearing the down jacket she had chosen Jianming and was carrying a small bag that was slung over her back. 7 aunts and 8 aunts praised her for being girly and beautiful. Zhang Nuan's grandmother still regarded her as a child, and stuffed a lot of big white rabbits and a few Ferrero in her small satchel. White rabbit is the taste of childhood, and Ferrero is also her favorite chocolate. Anyway, the New Year's money should be handed over to the Queen Mother and saved in the end, and the White Rabbit and Ferrero are the most realistic. After dinner, Grandma pulled Zhang Nuan aside and quietly gave Zhang Nuan another piece of Grandpa Mao. Nuan, I know you can't get the New Year's money. Your mother said that she will give it to you after you go to college. But Grandma knows that girls still need a little money. This is for you, and you don't need to tell your mother. Grandma won't speak. Zhang Nuan hugged her and kissed her hard. Grandma is the best. Don't take it to buy mutton skewers. That one is not clean. You go and buy something to eat, where, notebook and pen, it doesn't matter. I know. Zhang Nuan stuffed the New Year's money into the pocket of the down jacket and pressed the button. When I got home at night and was about to take off my down jacket, I found that the small satchel on my shoulders was gone. Mom! Did you get my satchel for me? No. I remember when you came downstairs from Grandma's house, you were carrying it yourself. But my bag is gone. It's gone? What's in it? Is it a cell phone? Yeah. And the White Rabbit toffee and Ferrero from Grandma. Go to your father's car first to see if you got off the car. Otherwise, you remembered it wrong, and you're still at Grandma's house? But I remember that you went downstairs with your bag on your back. Zhang Nuan went to the underground garage to take a look. Her satchel was not in the car, so she called her grandmother, but she made her anxious. She kept asking if there were any valuables in the bag besides the White Rabbit and Ferrero. Zhang Nuan quickly said no. If Grandma knew there was a mobile phone inside, she would definitely go downstairs to help her find it. Anyway, there are not many people on the street during the Chinese New Year. She was carrying her bag from the downstairs of her grandmother's house to the intersection. Maybe the bag was still there. Zhang Nuan hurriedly went out to look for it, but it was almost 10 o'clock, because the New Year's bus ended early, and there were few taxis on the road. It was cold, and even the shops were closed. Zhang Nuan took a breath of cold air and was thinking about the big deal when he was walking to his grandmother's house when he saw a teenager riding a bicycle in the distance passing through the cold street lights, getting closer and closer. It was Liu Ran, and his handsome facial features gradually became clear from the coldness of winter and the warm light revealed by every household. What are you doing? Liu Ran stopped. He should also be back from his grandparents' house. The author has something to say. Zhang Nuan, I have to remember, you won't grow again next month, right? Liu Ran, I will wait for you. Zhang Nuan, you can still wait for me when you are tall. Liu Ran, when you grow taller, when you grow up, when you like me again.